Hello, my BMX nerd friends. Welcome back to another episode of Kanode Knows, brought to you by Dig BMX. This week, we have Ronnie Bonner. He's the owner of Sparkys Distribution, Rocksteady, and some commercial real estate stuff. It was pretty interesting to learn all about that. You will in this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the show, share it with your homies, smash that like button, subscribe, and help us grow. Leave a 5-star review if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And that's about it. Let's get into it. Ronnie Bonner. Ronnie Bonner, what's up?
What up, Bobby Kanode?
It's a long time no see, man. I'm stoked.
Too long,
I was just talking before we hit record. I see Traction Coffee Co. on your company. So what's your involvement with Traction? Is there a partnership with Shadow going on? They just sent me a cup and a personalized name on it. I was like, wow, dude, like Traction is sick. What is Traction?
Amazing coffee, amazing people. Like, they reached out to us, and Sam Burrows worked with Mike and whatnot at Traction, and then basically they want to do a project, so we did one, and man, it was a fun project. It's fun seeing BMXers expand past the t-shirt and the hard goods. They're going into other segments.
Yeah.
So these guys, the Traction guys are dialed, man. I mean, the equipment they have, the way they do it, their coffee quality. I mean,
I got to smell the beans. It's real good smelling beans.
Dude, and those little thermos cups they branded and used. Oh, did you get one of those?
Yeah, I got one with my name on it. I was like, wow, dude, above and beyond.
They get it. And again, it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. Those guys get it, man. They took what they've learned through BMX, they've applied it now to a new avenue, and it's making BMX look cooler.
Yeah, for real.
I love these dudes. I think they do a really good job, and I'm appreciative of anyone in BMX that takes the skill sets and applies them towards a journey. You know?
Yeah. So that actually I've written down here. Speaking of skill sets, what skills are going to be the most valuable in business in the future? Do you think? Just off the top of your head, a couple of skills that maybe.
I mean, it's an extremely broad question, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, technology is huge.
Yeah.
But I mean, but to me, the number one skill set you can have is communication, written and verbal, man, because people are terrible at communicating.
Yeah.
And I always say there's two things you can do, man. Like, if you have communication, you can either get a resolution or an answer. And that's all you need, man. No excuses, no bullshit in the middle. Just, dude, oh shit, yeah, you're right, I fucked up. Or no, here's why.
Yeah.
And most people skip those steps.
Yeah.
Which is, but it's human. People don't want confrontation, they don't want issues, and I get it. But sometimes, man, just being like straight, man, is a skill that works really well.
Agreed. I think especially I learned something about, like, just when it comes to business and communications over email or text, like no fluff. Just say the stuff, leave emotions out of emails, like, and you have to go into reading an email without trying to like project your own mood on whatever they're saying, because that's the problem with text communication in general. It's just like you could say something and then somebody else hears it like the complete opposite of your intention, and I think there's value in phone calls.
There's no tone in text.
Yeah,
written text.
Exactly.
So that's why emojis or ha-ha-has or softening elements are very important, because I think everyone needs to think, how is this perceived?
Yep.
Because there's nothing worse. You've probably seen those memes now. Everyone's like talking about the texting and how someone perceives what the other person's saying, and it's like, oh my god.
Key and Peele did a really good skit about that.
Yeah.
What's up? What do you mean, what's up?
That's exactly what I was talking about. I forgot who it was, but it's the truth, And I mean, especially now coming out of COVID, 3 years, everyone in the world is in a little bit of an odd place mentally. Communication, community, it's a little weird, man. I mean, I'm conscious of it. I can see myself in spaces where I don't feel 100%, so I can see how some people right now. So communication, I think, is 2023, 2024 is number one. And kind of, maybe not a skill, but an emotion. Be conscious of what everyone might be going through, and it really will soften communication. Maybe that's not as fun.
Agreed,
It's like, because everyone's going through something right now, So it's like, but
everybody has their own shit. Speaking of COVID, I know you're in Florida. Wait, so first of all, like, that reminds me, I want to know, like, your kind of origin story. I know like you started UGP, you were responsible for the Roots gyms, but I I don't think I ever asked you when I was working with you or around you, like, where are you? Have you always been from Florida, or
Born
did
and
you move
raised in
there?
Castleberry. Born and raised in Castleberry.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've always lived here. And thank God through BMX. Because when I was in high school, man, I thought one of my coolest things I ever did was I convinced the guidance counselor that I did not need a foreign language in my life. And
Nice.
legally, you have to get it. And she signed off, and I never took a foreign language because I never perceived myself ever. My parents, they weren't poor, we weren't rich. You know what I mean? I never thought I would ever leave Orlando.
Right.
Fast forward, I say it's my number one biggest mistake is that now my favorite thing in life is travel and meeting people. So I wish I spoke Spanish. I wish I spoke Mandarin. I wish I spoke German or French or something,
Yeah.
and it's like, but then again, what I was really into on that really is that Orlando's a place I love living. I love Orlando. It made me who I am today, but because of traveling, it's made me like Orlando even more because it
Really?
is a small, big town. You
Small
know,
big town.
if I didn't travel, I might not like it.
That's interesting. Like if you see what's all out there, and then you're like, yeah, I love Orlando. I
I mean,
had,
home's home. I mean, at
yeah,
the end of the day, home is home, and
home
that's
is home.
really,
That's where your
you
network
know,
of homies are. That's how I feel about Phoenix. Like when
yeah.
so I don't, for people listening who don't know, I worked for Ronnie and Sparkys. I was a Subrosa filmer for a couple of years, and I moved
Yeah.
to, I think it was towards the end of I don't know, right in the middle of working for you guys. I moved to Orlando, and I hated it.
Yeah. It's a love haven. I get
Yeah.
why people, I
But for
totally
me,
get it.
man, it was like anywhere is what you make it. And I went, and for the first while, I think I was very positive. I was like, I
Yeah.
was going to yoga class and going to work and trying blah blah blah. But then I got trapped into a depression, and I was
Oh,
drinking a
yeah.
lot and eating pizza and getting fat and just being miserable. So I moved back home. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've never
I
actually experienced the good weather of Florida. I was just there for a
Man,
sticky, nasty summer, dude. It was bad.
it's probably the worst time to move to Florida. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I did
If you
it.
get like right now, it's so nice. It is
Yeah,
so nice, but the good and the bad,
it is what
and
it
it's
is.
like,
Yeah,
I mean, but like again, when you look at through a half full, half empty lens, now you can see all the positivities like we are talking about
of
that you got
course.
from that trip. But at the
Yep.
time of 22,
Yeah,
it's you're not thinking in that perception,
yeah,
But
for
I
real.
appreciate you did it because honestly, those are some of our most steezy, best vibe videos that you created during that window. Like I love everything you did during that, and I
Thank you,
think your
man.
craziness that you're going through also was a good part of your creativity that
Yeah,
you were
it
actually
takes
picking out also.
takes a little bit of crazy to make some cool stuff, you know. I'm still very proud of all the like the bigger ones, the Subrosa in Vegas, the Subrosa in
Um,
Albuquerque, Subrosa in Atlanta. Those are fun. But let's get back to your kind
yeah,
of origin.
sure.
So you're in Florida. Like, what you started riding, and or let's get into, just tell me the story of how you started riding. Who's like the first pro you met and looked up to? What scene were you
Yeah.
in? Like, what time period is it? How old are you right now?
I'm 50, 52.
52.
Just turned 52. Yeah.
Happy
So
birthday.
thanks.
A
Yeah,
late
just a couple weeks
birthday.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, I started BMX at 11. I was skateboarded first, so I was really into skating. I had a half pipe in my backyard, all that kind of stuff. I had a
Sick.
Madrid to a Rat Bones. Then I got into Zorlak, which was like my big reason between PAL and Zorlak really like made my appreciation of the
What is
darker style.
Zorlak?
Zorlak is an old board company. I think it might still be around from Texas, and
Okay.
it's just like John Grigley, lots of skulls. I remember I got this one skateboard down at Orange Side Works on Edgewater. My grandma lived down the street. I remember I brought it home that day to go put it together, and she was so mad at me that she was trying to make me return it because of all the skulls on it. I was like, no,
Ronnie, this
but
is too much death.
she was not into it at all, but for me, like I was into skateboarding heavily, but when I got my first BMX bike in seventh grade. I got a mongoose, and that just literally, if I wouldn't have gotten that bike, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was like that bike was. I still have it. I still have
Sick.
the bike, which is pretty sick. But when I got the BMX bike, I got way more into it, especially because of Florida. It's not like we have like Arizona where we get concrete ditches and whatnot. Like was like, oh shit, I can do grass, gravel, dirt, wood, whatnot. I could
True.
ride with my skateboard to wherever I'm going. I could ride across the whole, county, come back. I was like, oh shit, this is awesome,
It's that first
So
taste of freedom and like having
it
that's your first vehicle.
literally, it's funny, man. That's what I say all the time, man. You get your BMX bike, and it opens up your neighborhood, your city, your town. Across the next thing you know, you're going across state borders. Next thing you know, you're across in a different country.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, this is cool, man. And literally, if I would have kept playing, because I played baseball for like 5 years, I played soccer for a season, I played football, I played basketball, I played tennis, I've played every sport you can think of,
Sports
and
balls.
yeah, and I'm like, nothing compares to BMX, but then skateboarding, wakeboarding, snowboarding,
Hmm.
those things are, but that was 11 years old, got into that. I started UGP when I was 15 or 16 in 10th or 11th grade. I was a
Just
super
a young
fan.
hustler.
Honestly, didn't really even understand what a company was. It wasn't, even though back then I always think about like the perception of how to start a company back then was it's so different than now.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had the perception now to apply then, but it's like when I started, it was more of a crew thing. It was the thing that I was super fans of Andy Jenkins, the art director of like BMX Action, Wizard Publications, like Mark Luman, which was the most amazing. He could write stuff that just made you feel like you were there, or even Scott Town, kind of going from Super BMX, whatnot, all that kind of stuff. So it was cool that those guys, they kind of introduced us to art and Xerox and the Xerox aspect, which between 11th grade, which was probably 88 to 99, 91, I really started learning about art and whatnot. But I started UGP. I had $500. I was washing dishes at this place called Warm Beer and Lousy Food. I saved up $500 because I wanted to get a moped and or
Nice.
motorcycle. And I saved the money up. My mom was like, hell no, you are not getting that. So the money sat there for a minute, and I decided to start UGP. And it was a thing where like I was in architect class and I was in my second year of it, moving towards that's what I thought I wanted to get into. And I found some screen printing equipment in my architect class, Mr. Buck's class, and took it out. I made the first UGP logo, and I printed on some paper. And then I was like, oh shit, all dudes in class, my friends are all like, they're kind of freaking on it. I was like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. So I stole all the stuff, brought it home, and then like started printing T-shirts, and then started selling T-shirts to like all the alternative stores. Because at the time, I hadn't made a number plate yet. And so I
Okay.
said Spotted Zebra and Unity were the two stores. And I'd go drop off 12 shirts, and I would come back, and then they would sell. I was like, oh shit, I bring another 12. I kept doing it all, and like,
These
oh
are bike
shit.
shops or skate shops?
No, they were alternative stores.
Just
Just like,
alternative stores. Okay, gotcha.
yeah, they were just
Yeah.
alternative stores, like right in Orlando. And I started selling to them. I was like, oh shit. So it's T-shirts first.
What was it like selling to them? Like just you just walk in their door and say, "Hey, I have this shirt and it says UGP on it. Would you like it?"
I made shirts, like the first shirts, like these crazy one, like this old man's face that like was this black, huge oversized print front that was, no one had oversized prints that big back then. It was huge. And everything was small logo, big back then,
Okay. Yeah.
And then I made shirts like this guy's like holding a chicken, and I stretched his head, and there was like the definition of stress. And then there was another thing, I stretched a mouth, and it was like scream. And it was like all
Okay.
Xerox based, thing, go to the library for 5 hours, collect images, stretch them, do all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And cool thing about that was I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like I was like, you can bring down 12 and do this. And then all these old dudes always tell me, no, you need to have money to make money, which later in life I realized is true. But back then I was so delusional that I was like, cool, 12 shirts, I'll sell those, buy 24, sell those, 48, and just
Yeah,
keep
scale up.
going. But holy fuck, that's the slowest possible journey you can do. But I was so passionate about BMX and learning, and at the time I met Chris Moeller in that 89, 91-ish, maybe, I don't remember exactly when it was, but it's somewhere at window. He came to Orlando, and it was so funny because he was the test rider for freestyle BMX and BMX Action.
Okay.
And he stole all the shit from BMX Action, like the jerseys and ODI satin jackets and all these things. And I have a picture of my scrapbook I took of him, like he had a shaved head, he was all being molar,
Yeah,
and he was
being Mad
selling all
Dog.
shit. Dude, he's selling all these people stuff, the stuff that we saw in the magazines.
Yeah.
And he was selling it all. But through that, we actually became friends. And at that moment, I was like, I didn't really understand what a clothing company was back then. I was just making t-shirts and doing things. And through that, we actually I started because I was actually moving forward a little bit more on that. I started doing screen printing in my parents' garage. I bought all the screen printing equipment, all that
Okay.
kind of stuff. So I
That's a
started
huge
printing.
investment to start like screen
It,
printing and
it
like
wasn't.
how much was the screen printing thing?
I bought it all used piece by piece. I remember I got a
Okay.
carousel printer. I don't even remember what I paid, but it couldn't have been very much. It had been hundreds of dollars. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And I couldn't afford a conveyor belt dryer, so I would do air dry ink with the old industrial hair dryers, used for upholstery and stuff, drying the
Yeah.
t-shirts
All by hand.
and things like that. But it was cool because right after we all graduated high school, because John Paul Rogers graduated like a year before me, and he went to California.
Okay.
So then those guys are planning like some East and West Coast tours for S&M when Moore had his VW bus. So I started printing all their tour shirts at my house. And then everywhere they would go, I would pre-send them to those locations. And then they would do that. So basically, I ended up printing. I have all the art too. I have everyone's art. I printed for everyone in the 90s and 2000s. I did S&M Standard, TNT, Mega MCS, Ride BMX,
Dude, that's awesome.
and I still have all the original artwork, all the original films, all the original stuff, which is pretty cool.
That's very cool. That's like forward thinking. Like I'm gonna keep this, and then I'll look back and remember it.
Yeah,
You know?
but I have a room. Everyone jokes with me. They say I have a fancy word for hoarding, which is called archiving. I have one room that I've kept it air conditioned for 30 years through different rooms. And I have all these things that are just historical of BMX. I mean, I love BMX, and I'm a firm believer of like, I don't like to hoard lots of stuff, but I always try to grab one piece of
Yeah.
something from a project.
The time
So
period.
it could be the smallest little thing to the biggest thing, but just to try to always have something that tells a portion of that story.
So that's like the first, big deal for was it like under the name UGP that you're doing all the screen
Day
printing
one.
for
Yeah.
so UGP is a screen print or a clothing company that is getting contracts from all these companies to do their shirts and
Yeah.
stuff. That's pretty cool, man.
It was a big thing that it was a long journey. You know what I'm saying? Like if you think about from like from a business standpoint, you're like, okay, I have to make this art, print this for this company, do that, take that profit, go buy blank t-shirts, come up with art, do it, make it, market them, sell them, finally get hopefully some kind of profit.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't understand. And thank God I was so delusional, because if I
Yeah.
wasn't, I think I would have quit. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it would have been like, oh shit, this is hard. But I didn't really care because it was just A, was learning, B, I'm with all my friends and I'm traveling. And even today, my number one concern is not money, it's creativity. How to make things fun and cool,
No. So let's
kind of going
come back
back
to
yeah,
UGP, but because you just brought us to modern or to today,
yep,
and I want to talk about we can finish your story, but we'll
yep.
pick back up at UGP screen printing for all the companies. But let's fast forward to right now. You got what is your what does business look like for you right now? Like what are you in charge of, and what are you excited about for 2023? Is there anything that is in the works that that I would get excited by? The tantalized.
It's
Anything really cool coming up, dude?
That's a really wide question. It's really difficult to answer, but I mean, like I said, one thing I'm excited about 2023 is actually getting out and seeing freaking people.
Yep.
I mean, I've miss people.
Back to normal.
So
Did
that's
that
gonna
was COVID like bad for you in Florida, or like the lockdowns and all that
be.
stuff?
I mean, it was just like everyone. It was the unknown was extremely stressful. Thank God we lived in Florida because it was relatively. I use quotation marks heavily. It's like it was relatively normal.
Yeah.
for Florida.
Yeah.
But it's like, but it was really hard, man. Like it was the stress of like running out of stuff, not getting, and then delays, and going from like 120-day production window to 365 production windows, and then now going into 2023, it's almost normalizing. But we'll talk about business, supply chains, whatnot. It's just insane,
Real quick, what does that mean? The 125 windows versus 365 windows?
Meaning you turn in a thing called a purchase order, a PO. And a PO is like when you turn into your maker, your vendor, and you say, hey, I want XXX by this date at this price.
Okay.
So back in, 2018, 2019, you could turn in a PO and have it done in 120 days, ready to ship.
Okay.
And then another 30 to 45 days on the water, go from Taiwan to wherever in the world,
Right.
So yeah, it went from, all of us had to go from 120 days up to 365, and some people even had more than 365 days.
Yikes.
Which is one of the reasons that we'll kind of talk about anything with the supply chain right now is jacked.
Yeah, I believe it. That's what I'm hearing rumblings of, is that could be we could have like serious food shortages, or like shit could hit the fan. The supply chain, I think, is like this hidden thing from the general public that you don't think about that much, but like everything in our lives, it's dependent on it.
And now there was one aspect of supply chain was happening during COVID. There's another one that's not happening after COVID, and literally it's happening in every space, every type of business, anything, every business in the world.
Yeah.
It's not just a cycling or a BMX thing,
Right. Yeah.
But in our world, yeah. So 2023, I'm excited because now we can get freaking back to trying to get to whatever the new normal is,
Right.
like, and I'm excited about that, and getting back out to events and hanging out with people.
So events, is there any like big team trips being planned?
We're planning all that right now. That is our full plan. Obviously, Swamp Fest is happening February 25th, which that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Florida series is going on right now. Actually, had its second stop yesterday.
Nice.
In Jupiter. So that's going on. USA BMX is doing something in Oviedo, like their first stop for their series. I think we'll kind of figure out what our overall plans are going to be by April.
Nice.
We're kind of taking a little different approach this year, just with how insane, everything is. And most countries right now are getting affected extremely hard right now. Like, I mean, I've never in past, you could call country A to country B, or mail order A to mail order B, and there's always someone doing bad and someone doing good. This is the first time ever that I got on a phone call and called 5 different countries, and I could have recorded a conversation, and they were all essentially the same. Yeah. Like
yeah.
And I believe the action of BMX is better than it's ever been, man. Like riding styles, locations, the amount of skate parks, the perception of riding is so good right now.
Agreed.
But the economics of just life, I mean, is going to make it really, really tough,
Yeah.
for people.
I mean, I feel like BMX in general was already tough enough, and then you throw in COVID, and then shit hits the fan. And I don't know. Did some companies go under?
I don't know if any companies in BMX will ever go under, because it's a passion-driven industry, which is the beauty and the deficit. It's like but I don't think anyone's ever really gone out of business. It's like.
So, all right, that leads me to just a general. Give me the summary of what Ron Bonner's business looks like. Like from the top to the bottom. Like I've heard things like you're vertically integrated. You got multiple things going on all over the place. Like what does the business look like? Like, and also what after that? Because I don't know. I think of like Elon Musk, SpaceX, Tesla, all this stuff, and then all the subsidiary things that are related to those, like the charging stations and all these little things that kind of branch off, and it looks like this tree. And that's what I imagine you have going on within the BMX world. So what is the business? What multiple businesses? What does your businesses look like?
Well, I mean, we have Sparkys Distribution, which we started in 1995. That's our distribution company, which is not technically a distribution company. It's more like our our clubhouse that is where all our brands live. And we joke and call it the Sparkys Opportunity Center, so we can add, subtract, do cool things to our friends, whatnot, create brands, whatever we like to do.
The Opportunity Center. Sparky's Opportunity Center.
We're not trying, we don't want to be a one-stop all. We're not trying to have 50 brands. We're not, we really just want to be real focused on what we're doing, which is Shadow Conspiracy, which is, our parts and riding gear and clothing, and then Subrosa.
Never heard of it. Shadow.
Yeah. Subrosa, which complete bikes, parts, frames, mainly bikes and whatnot, and clothing and stuff. And then Rant, which is like our more price sensitive brand that has a really cool 90s vibe to it. And then we do, I have another company called Rocksteady Supply Co., which is our trading company.
What does that mean, trading company?
Trading company means basically we're the agent for not only our own brands, but a lot of brands. And we do all the QC, like we do all the logistics, shipping to different countries for the different brands. We do all their, do a lot of their manufacturing photos, their studio photos. Rocksteady is the first trading company in Taiwan to actually be designed by a customer. Most of the time, trading companies are designed by someone who worked at a factory or may have worked at another trading company.
Interesting.
How
did that start? I love the name for that, because you want your business to be Rocksteady. That's a great name.
The cool thing about the name Rocksteady is first off, I love the name Rocksteady because of the trends in popular culture. Rocksteady crew, breakdancing, whatnot. And that was the beginning of everything, in my opinion, cool, So it's like punk rock and hip hop.
Yeah.
So it's so Rocksteady Supply Co. actually translates to really cool it means foundation stone in Mandarin, which means the cornerstone of a building. Without that stone, nothing else actually stays stable. So hence, that's why we chose that name.
When did that start? Did you start that out of
10 years ago?
10 years ago.
10 years ago this March.
Okay.
And I had to start it because the crazy thing was I was all of a sudden one day we got a phone call from my old trading company. I won't mention their names. And I got a company from China hit me up going, hey, we want to reorder more stuff. And we're like, what? I was like, because at the time we didn't allow anything being sold into China at the time. So I was like, what? And my product director, Greg Lanthorn, was in Taiwan at the time, and he was walking around, and all of a sudden I call him, and I'm like, hey, do you guys got this email or this email? He's like, what? And he walked down this warehouse of the trading company just by chance, and he saw a pallet. Come to find out, assumably they were making 20% more of every single one of our products and shipping into China. But at the same time I found that out, I found my dad was dying of cancer. So I had to kind of step back for a minute. I had to think, and literally I had to make a decision. There's two choices. You can do a satellite office, which means it's just an extension of your USA or European office in Taiwan, which means you can't do any other work for anyone else. And it goes back and forth. Or you can start a trading company, which means you can open up to everyone else. I knew that I wanted to take everything I learned and share it with the other brands in
BMX. Yeah, so that's dope.
But through that, man, these people that I was going up against, man, like mafia style, man, I had to become an expert at Taiwanese law. I had to hire a lawyer. I had to learn. And it's very, very, very different. Same fundamentally laws almost in a sense, but the cultural differences is insane when you're talking in business. So it was quite hard. It was literally, I'm a very conservative business person and person in general. And it was literally a double down. I doubled down. I was like, look, I'm going for this. If I fail, I'll lose every single thing in my life. I would lose everything. And it was scary. But 10 years later, I don't like talking about the brands out of privacy that we work with, but it's we have, in my opinion, the best brands in BMX.
I believe it.
That we work with. And I'm really stoked. And we have our own brands. And that was a really important thing for me, because something in business is you'll never control the Z unless you control the A. And that means something different to everyone else. But to me, I'm not trying to be vertically integrated, but I didn't want any more kind of gray area or scenarios for me or my partners that I'm working with, that I didn't want that to be the next. So I was like,
that's great.
So that was crazy. So at the end of the day, and now we have Juvie Hall also, which is our retail space, literally across the street from our office, which is Because the thing is with our brands, everything's virtual based. So
Yep.
how does a fan or someone that wants to become a fan of what you do become physically immersed in what you do? It's really difficult now because back in the day, you're at so many different events, so many things that could. So
Yeah.
I wanted to create Juvie Hall as an event space coffee shop
It's
that just
called
so
Juvie
happens to
Hall.
be Juvie Hall, which
Okay, got you.
is actually the name. I started a store in 97 downtown Orlando that was called Juvie Hall for a little while. I had bars on the window. You had to ring a bell to get in, and
Sick.
it was kind of wild. So we wanted to bring that name back because it's a fun name. It's actually from a movie called American Me, which is all about juvenile detention center. If you ever can check it, it's a crazy
Okay,
movie.
I will.
So I like the American Me. I saw this name and I was like, oh my God. So really like Juvie Hall now is like our space that we do a lot of events and whatnot. And we're trying to bring every different subculture
Dope.
into one place that BMX, our brands, but BMX is presenting.
So it's not
And
just BMX, it's for, it's the skateboard homies, the video premieres for maybe, I
yeah,
don't know if they snowboard in Florida, but video premieres
if
for
you need
all the different
well, like
disciplines.
the Skateboard Alliance crew, awesome guys. Skate plus skate shop in Orlando, awesome skate shop, one of the best in the world.
Yeah,
And they all did the Skateboard Alliance, Skate Park Alliance there, which they're trying to work with BMX and skateboarding. So they came over. We don't sell skateboards. We don't sell it's our brands and BMX only. But our idea, and I think everyone in BMX wants this idea. I mean, like I was the first person in BMX and cycling to actually bring fashion into BMX. So we did that in 2006 with the Shadow Invisible Man project that we did. And
yeah,
that bike actually taught us how to make bikes, which then Ryan and I were like, oh shit, we can do this. So we started Subrosa. But
nice.
moving backwards, we were the first ones to take a seat. And before that, it was fabrics and a logo, and that's it. We were the first brand to say, hey, in cycling, say, hey, let's make seats canvases like a skateboard deck,
Huh.
and that's when seats changed. That was
Yeah.
our Penumbra series,
The
So
OG shadow seats were sick. I love it.
so for me, that's the thing that's always been super important is like the presentation not only to ourselves as BMXers, but how do you perceive it to others,
Yeah.
So street fashion sense, and then trying to always keep blending even car culture to BMX or skateboarding to BMX or street
Right.
fashion. So we've done projects with the Hundreds, Invisible Man. We did Osiris. We did Vans multiple times. We've done Information, which is the project we just dropped like last month. I'm probably forgetting some, but
That's dope.
it's
I want to
yeah.
linger
So
on. We'll get back to that. I want to linger
yeah.
on because you mentioned getting Rocksteady started was like going against the mafia. I'm picturing in my head like you are overseas, and the culture difference of like, do I bow? Do I shake hands? Like what? Paint me a picture of what was the moment that got your heart racing the most when you were getting that shit started? Man, because you're doubling down, and then there's a
It
culture
was
difference.
scary.
Yeah, tell me something.
I'll tell you right now, I'm a very no gray area kind of guy. If you have a problem with it, I always say, come to me and I'll give you an answer or a resolution. You won't get an excuse.
Yep.
So for me, if I'm doing something, I'll come to you and say, hey man, I'm about to do this because I feel like it's the right way to be. So I applied that same logic in a foreign country. So I went to these people and told them I'm leaving now. Oh man, they went after us. They were like trying to get different factories to cut us off. They like honestly, I probably lost $50,000 in molds because
Huh.
some factories didn't want to work with us, and then it was
Damn.
like, but the funny thing was, fast forward 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, it's like, oh, you want to work with us now? Okay. But dude, it was really scary because especially as a round eye going into Asia,
Yeah.
you're like, hey man, like it was a little, I had to prepay all our orders for like a while, which is really difficult,
I believe it.
and just learning. And I have a partner, his name's Stephen Liu. He's a phenomenal person. I've known him for 15 to 18 years, probably. He's
Okay.
Taiwanese,
Okay.
and he is an amazing dude. So him and I both took huge risk,
Yeah.
doing it. But ultimately, I'm the kind of guy, man, I don't lie and I don't steal.
Yeah.
And when someone does that shit to me, my brain just does this shift that's insane, and I don't know how to how to think. You know what I mean? I just go, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like, but
What
it
was
was
the biggest
cool.
hurdle in getting Rocksteady started? I mean, obviously, like being transparent up front and saying, "Hey, I'm
Yeah,
leaving." That was a problem for them. They were like, "No,
I would have
you
done that
know,
again.
yeah, okay." And then they're trying to get you blacklisted from factories.
Yeah.
What was the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome to make it happen?
I mean, besides being scared that I was making the wrong decision and did I mess up, you know, I was like, oh God, did I not? You know, probably, I mean, Steven and I both know how to set up businesses and do things. So structuring the business, yeah, we had finance, we had investment money. It was really difficult getting it set up, but honestly, it was probably navigating back like the communication and dealing with people, and then I mean, it
Yeah.
was funny because I heard rumors that some of the factories were having gambling pools if we were going to survive or not.
No shit.
Which was crazy, but ultimately, like I said, that was 10 years ago. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think as always, the number one thing is humans. Humans
Yes.
are freaking insane.
Yep. For real.
Including myself, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like I think that's probably the hardest thing, and then just getting it going, and stuff like that. But honestly, we already had our brands, and we basically, I'm a very, like I said earlier, I'm really conservative. So all my business models, if it can't survive on worst case scenario, I don't do them.
Hmm.
I'm not the kind of, most
Smart.
people
Yeah.
look at the other way. Most people are like, I think I could do this and blah blah. But in BMX and cycling too, it has to be more passion driven,
Yeah.
because like we were talking about earlier, COVID was hard and now it's hard, but BMX is always hard.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, we're selling limited edition products that are super high quality, and that typically doesn't at affordable prices. Those
Yeah.
3 points don't typically work
Right.
together.
Yeah. It's either like you got to pick two out of the three: quality, cheap, or fast, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And that's what it is. So but yeah, so the rock steady thing was definitely difficult.
would you say that's the most
And
like exciting business adventure that you've started, like, or at least thrilling? Because I feel that's going into uncharted territory. I'm picturing you like awkwardly trying to shake somebody's hand overseas or something, and like they go, no, 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 like and just bow.
well,
Did you have to
it's
go over
funny.
there for in person meeting?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's funny with that thought. Fast forward, actually, this year is 20 years of Shadow. So
sick.
21, 22 years ago, I flew to Taiwan by myself, and I knew no one. I flew there. I went to Japan first. From Japan over to Taiwan. I knew a guy from this place I sold UGP clothing to in Taipei, which is the capital. It's in the north part of Taiwan. I flew in there. I convinced him beforehand that his name was Tony. I was like, "Hey Tony, would you drive me down to Taichung, which is a 3-hour drive?" So I flew into Taiwan. I get there. At the time, my passport got washed.
What
So
does
in
that
the
mean?
wa-
Oh,
in the
okay,
it
yeah,
got washed in the laundry. So I
yeah,
made it to Japan, no problem. Japan into Taiwan. I show up in Taiwan. And 22 years ago, Taiwan airport, it looked like your elementary school or a jail. All exposed blocks, all white, dingy,
huh?
shitty lights. It was like, so I pull up the thing and I hand my passport to this guy at the customs. He gets it, he looks at it, and I could tell there was something up. All of a sudden, he says something. This dude walks up with like a trillion medals across his uniform, and he's like walking up, and all of a sudden he grabs it and he says something Mandarin, and he's like da 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 da. And the only word I understood, because this is not far after 9/11, I believe,
Yeah.
all I heard was the word anthrax, and he drops my passport.
Oh
And I've
no.
literally in my life never been so scared, never been so scared that I literally felt like I was going, like,
Shaking. Yeah.
dude, shaking. And next thing you know, 15 minutes later, they let me out. I'm in the country, and I drove down and I just started going to factories. And I knew this one guy that I kind of did a little business with UGP, a little number plates, pads, whatnot.
Yeah.
Stopped by him, just started looking around until I kind of figured it out. But again, it kind of goes back to myself. If I want to do something, I just set my mind and like
Yeah,
that.
man,
I
that's
think about
wild that you
that.
just went by yourself to start Shadow and just cold
I don't.
calling, cold walking into factories. That's amazing.
I mean, when I think about it now, I'm like, you're an idiot, man. You know, it's like, but I was like, look, I got to figure this out. I'm a firm believer that you cannot design unless you study the manufacturing process.
Okay, I'm with
And
that.
you have to, for me, I do that with everything I do now. Like, if I'm going to try to design something, I will learn how. I might not be able to weld, but I understand every aspect of welding, or like sewing, or construct like clothing. I could
Right.
pretty much walk you through probably any type, separate technology, but like
Yeah.
walk you through things. Yeah. So for me, I had to go there. And when I started it, I did a case study. I took a grip and I said, look, I'll do a design. I sent it to Taiwan. And then I found the oldest grip maker in America called Hunt Wild. They're actually out of like Tampa.
Okay.
And I sent them the design and I said, hey, let's see if I can make Shadow a USA brand or Taiwan brand. I don't remember the real exact numbers, but it was something of this. I think it was $1,500 back then to $3,000 for a mold in Taiwan for a grip.
Okay.
USA at the time was 20 something thousand dollars. The unit cost might have been 75 cents a grip, and it was like $2 a grip in USA. So after I started doing all the math, I was like, man, it's either try to do this brand or don't do this brand.
Right.
So I went for Taiwan.
Yeah. It's logical. There's something cool and, patriotic about built in USA, but if the numbers don't work, it doesn't work. For people who don't know, what is a mold?
A mold could be of many different things, but in the thought of a grip or injection molding of rubbers or plastics, it's usually a big block of aluminum that's split in the middle, has different entry ports that the material can be squeezed with high pressure into the molds. The molds open up and it extracts the unit out of.
And then
So
you
that
got your
mold
product.
sometimes,
Yeah.
those molds can be, now a grip mold might be $8,000.
Yeah.
Or a tire mold might be $25,000 or
Right.
something, So it's huge chunks of metal,
So for like example, like you can't make a new design of a grip without opening up a new mold or like designing the mold, right? Like if you're gonna do a different grip, you got to invest in the mold, and then maybe it pays itself off after X amount of. That's super interesting. What other what other products require the initial investment of getting a mold? Tires?
I mean, tires do, grips do, sometimes like stems, because like if you do a forged stem, which is actually technically stronger than a CNC stem. Funny thing about CNC is everyone in BMX or most cars, whatnot, perceive CNC as a higher quality. CNC actually technically is for sampling.
Huh.
It's not really made for, say, because it's not per unit efficient cost wise.
Yeah.
But it looks cool. Everyone now perceives all the lines and the engraving marks that the chatter makes when you're CNCing.
What does CNC stand for?
God, what is
or generally, what does it mean?
God, I know it too. I'm like miracle. Anyways, it's you program, like Byron Anderson, who is our SolidWorks designer, who was one of the original Shadow Riders. He does all of our product designs, which we'll talk about him say too. He does SolidWorks, which is it's a
solid,
programming. So he does that, and then he'll take that file, create it, and then send it over to, you can do a rapid prototype out of like plastic or whatnot. And then you can take that file and send it to the factory, which then apply it into a CNC machine and make your sample. Okay. But like a lot of our stems are forged, so you have to open up a mold, which I don't know what the mold costs on those, but that'd be $10,000 or something. You open up that mold, then you could take that. It's actually really strong because you change the grains in the metal and it actually becomes stronger.
That's interesting.
I'm not a metal. Yeah. Byron could be way better at speaking on the technical level of this than I, but it's like, so when you do that, then you can go in and CNC it a little bit and make it look nicer or get certain details that you might not be able to get in a mold.
Interesting.
Besides forgetting what CNC means, which I know, which is embarrassing.
Computerized numerical control, that's what came up on Google.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yep. Yeah, I knew it was something. Why am I having a brain fart?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, but like that's the type of molds, I mean, sometimes like you might just have like a washer or something goes in something that's a mold, or like the shadow interlock chain. We had to make the pins are a mold, the plates are a mold.
Oh
We actually had to
boy.
make molds for actually changing the automated assembly factory. So we had to get molds to put in the different machines so we could
Huh.
handle that chain,
That's
and
something
stuff. And
that you don't think about too often. You're just like, okay, this chain exists, I should buy it. But you don't think about like all the little like all the things that had to
Well,
happen in order for
when you
you to get
think
it.
about it, like a T-shirt, you're gonna have a mold for each color to get screen printed. They
Yep.
call that a mold or a screen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're like, here's all this, or like, like you have to open up films, so you gotta send it off to get the films done out. Now you can go digitally to a screen, etc. Or like, I mean, almost everything takes some type of, let's call it setup cost,
Right.
So that's one of the things that's really hard. People don't understand. It's like, man, then once you even get a mold open, then you have to test the product, adjust it, adjust the molds sometimes,
Yeah.
and then go through the whole process.
It's a whole thing, man. And
It's
we just take it for granted. We're all like, yeah, it's either blah blah blah. This I got a cool new stem is out, but it's wild.
it's pretty wild. It's definitely intense when you start thinking about cost, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it's
And
a
that's
gamble.
part of you got to play the law of averages in almost everything in life, right? But especially in
Yeah.
product design.
Okay, so
You
let me
know,
just to understand Ron Bonner's business. We got Rocksteady. Is that the top? That's the trading company. Is there
it's
anything
kind of
above
off
that?
to the side because American Mentality is our corporate
Right.
company
I
who has
remember that. I was
Sparky,
trying to remember the name
Shadow,
that was on the checks that I was
AMI.
getting. Yeah,
So
American
that's
Mentality.
kind
Yeah,
of that, which is Sparky, Shadow, Subrosa, Rant. We also have Shadow Riding Gear. We still own
that's a
Sputnik.
separate company.
They're
So
all,
when
yeah,
does that mean that all of these are different LLCs, or is American Mentality the
they're
LLC, and then everything's underneath it?
everything.
Is there
American
trusts
Mentality.
involved? How does it? How does the
Well, we do have a
structure work?
trust. We
Okay.
have a trust. We have the American Mentality is the LLC, the Inc. incorporation, and then everything else is a DBA, doing business as.
Okay,
So it
gotcha.
all falls underneath this. Now we do have lots of separate LLCs within this too.
Yeah.
So Rocksteady is a completely separate entity. It's not part of it, but it's part of me, So, but it's
Yeah.
not part of AMI,
Okay, so we got Rocksteady over here, and then AMI is the big umbrella under which there's Shadow, Subrosa, Rant,
Yep.
Shadow Riding Gear, Juvie Hall, the
Yep.
actual distribution center. Anything else? What else? What other
No,
businesses you got?
that's basically it.
Are you
I
an
mean,
investor in any other businesses? Like you got your hand in multiple pots?
no, I mean, I have been in past for different things and things like that, but this is all I have at the moment. Obviously, I do stock market, do all that kind of stuff, but not BMX related. I think
You
that's
do some
everything.
stock market shit?
I do quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah? How'd you
I
get
do a
into that?
lot.
How does one start that? That's something that's crossed my mind. Like, I want to try, but I have no clue where to even start. It feels like you're just
Oh,
guessing and gambling.
I mean, I'm not a gambler, even though everyone says you should go gamble. Like, I don't gamble because every day of my life is a gamble.
Yeah, for real.
So I was very reluctant. And now I wish someone would have walked me through in my 20s on, look, dude, just put $100 into something really secure every single week, every single month, do $100, anything, because it compiles,
Yeah.
like you can make. So honestly, basically when I was in my late 40s, I was like, I read a couple articles and like, look, man, if you don't get your shit in gear by 50, you're not going to be able to have any retirement. I'm BMX, like that wasn't a thought process,
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
but it is one of the things I speak of a lot to our team dudes, employees, everything like that. It's like, man, like there's a lot of really secure type avenues to take that you can make a very reasonable return on your money,
Yeah.
and for me, it's just, so I've just, for the past like 6 years, I've just been putting it away,
Interesting.
and it's one of the things I constantly talk to our team dudes about. Is like, I'm always like, I always try to be the right mentor to anyone that's within my group, and I always try to give, because I obviously can't pay everyone a ton of money, but I can try to always be there to help everyone with the right advice,
Yeah.
and try to help everyone understand. Because my parents are awesome and they gave me great advice, but they only knew what they knew,
Right.
and now in life today, we're blessed to have so much knowledge,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's pretty cool. So it's definitely something I had to do, because obviously one day not gonna be able to keep doing everything,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Are you doing any real estate stuff?
yeah. I have a holding company called Movement and Novo Properties. So I own only commercial property. So
Interesting.
I do
Commercial real
quite a
estate.
few.
Cool.
Yeah, I only do commercial. So I had
Why?
residential. I care too much about people. And when you do residential, it's really hard to not over care. And I don't like how it makes me feel at the end of the day,
Yeah.
to be quite
Yeah.
honest. I didn't
Being a
like,
landlord
the
for
house
like,
I had over there in Winter Park, that every BMX from Scotty Kramer, Ryan Scher to you probably maybe gone, I don't know, but everyone was going, lived there at one point.
yeah.
And I bought that. That was crazy because when I was 26 years old, I realized that there was a state program that you could buy a house for $4,000 down.
What?
So
Where's that at in here? I
yeah,
want that.
I do $4,000 down. Granted, you had to get PMI insurance, you had to do all that kind of stuff with it. So I found a house for $79,000. I didn't even have $4,000. I had $1,500 in my bank account that year. I went to my grandfather, borrowed the remainder of the money from him, paid him back with interest, bought the house. Basically, had the house till last year, sold it for $400,000.
Wow. Okay.
And it was
Cool.
mainly paid by renters, which
Yeah.
BMX, which is, I lived there for quite a while. And actually, I was in that house right when I started Shadow.
Nice.
So
Historical house. Is that the one where I was just talking to Joe Simon, and he said that he was at your house working on Shadow the
yeah,
Calling
so
and
good.
missed a wedding, and because he was too stoned working on the video. I was like, hell yeah, dude.
Different house, but great experience. Joe
Yeah.
Simon is like, I always knew Joe Simon was destined to kill it in life, in a
Yeah.
video or business. And God, he's
He's
exceeded
special,
what I
man.
thought he was going to do. He is cool
Yeah.
as hell.
He exceeded all of our expectations. That's really crazy how
It made me
like
laugh,
high
and he's
level
like,
he is.
because I've always smoked pot my entire life.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I remember during that window that I was like, damn, son, you gotta like. He was like, he said in his interview, like, I felt like I had to, and I was like, okay, man, I'll get it. You're good. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. It was so much fun,
I
man. Like,
love that.
that was still that everything's new and everything's shocking period. And I always
Yeah.
think about that like time period, which was awesome. It's like
Um,
Joe is so awesome.
the the way that Shadow was unveiled to the world, I think, was a really cool thing, and I think I would imagine it was intentional on your part because you're good at marketing to make it like a secret con- conspiracy and just like very subliminal, teasing it at first. Like, what was it like unveiling Shadow? What was the strategy behind it? And what was it? Was it intentional? And tell me about the origins of Shadow and
It
how
was
it came out.
completely intentional from shock awareness and finances. So I kind of was thinking about everything I was doing and, okay, how do I do this? And then so we basically that was the internet was around at 2002, but it wasn't
Yeah,
around
exactly.
as it is today. So we were one of the earliest adopters of guerrilla marketing and viral marketing, the concepts and the titling into it. So one of my thoughts is like, as I was picking the team and developing everything, what I ended up doing is I took 40 people and customers that for, I don't remember how, I think it might have been 4 to 6 months. I can't remember exactly. And I took these little Xerox pieces of paper, which I have them on the Shadow Instagram or Shadow page, but I made a little page that the only thing consistent on was a crow head, but it was weird Xerox saying like the shadow's upon you or I'm watching you, and these weird, cool Xerox elements. I'd put them in these envelopes. I would do like an address from like say Atlanta, Georgia. Then I would mail all 40 envelopes to San Francisco and have my friend throw them in a mailbox. Then we get a San Francisco stamp, but have like a Georgia address. And I would change it every one I did to all 40 people. So they never knew where it was coming from for the 6 months because I wanted to keep it secret.
That's
So
interesting.
I kept mailing all these things. And then either the 4th month or the 6th month, it might have been a month or two. Well, let me back up 1 second. We started April 2022 at Roots Jam, which we'll talk about that too today.
April 2002.
2002 is when Shadow starts. So at Roots Jam in the middle of the night, I didn't really tell anyone. And I went around and spray painted really middle of the night in the dark, the shadow is upon you. And I just stenciled it in all these places. And then we snuck stickers all on all the pros' bikes, everyone's bikes in the middle of the night. Everyone left their bikes there. So I went around and did it all. So then basically we had, I think we had 3 of the 5 guys picked. So I had an RV that I was sleeping, a small little RV. And it's still funny. I have a picture that I found online because there was a game foot down in front of our RV, and I found a picture and a video of the RV. So basically that was the year we still had to get Alistair and maybe Ryan Sure, but no, Ryan was down. I think it was Alistair might have been the last component that we wanted, and we knew he was coming. So
who was the OG5?
Joe Simon, Alistair Witten, John Jennings, and Ryan Sure.
Dope.
So very eclectic, very different crew, and then so basically that was April. So then from April on, I did the 4 to 6 month all the way till April, May, June, July, August, September. So yeah, it was probably 4 to 6 months because September, I believe, if I remember, it was always Interbike. Okay. So the month before Interbike, I couldn't even show you the bike. I made these little boxes that I screen printed with crow heads and I had a label on the front that said 1 of 40. And then inside, I sewed all these little hand puppets that look like shadows.
Nice.
And I put a flashlight in it and an instruction manual because everyone was guessing that it was a band, a video game, it was a this. It was, no one knew. So I put all the guesses, I put all these funny how to use it. And the last page, it still didn't define what it was. It just said, come to this booth. And then here's this. I sent the box out to all 40 people and they had to come to the booth and actually to see what we were actually doing.
Nice. Which was at the time, what were you actually doing? What was the first like Shadow product?
One of the big things for Shadow is before Shadow, most people would start a brand with one product, maybe. So my goal was to have, I don't remember how many it was we had, but we had like 4 or 5 products like grips, stems, sprockets, and tires for launch. And then Our Chain came out second launch.
Dope.
So we had full products. I wanted a full parts company. I didn't want to just have a thing. I wanted it to be a real thing, that we went into,
Why start with just a parts company versus a full-blown frame company? And why is it that like there are parts companies and frame companies? Why is it split up? Why isn't it all, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I hate sometimes that there is 2. I think it should be 1 sometimes.
Yeah.
But I knew that I didn't have the finances to be a full bike company at the time because as a bike company, you had more responsibility for travel, full bikes, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely went that route. I also knew that I could work with all my riders' bike sponsors and co-sponsors.
Yeah, without getting in the way.
Launch it.
Yeah.
Because I think I launched Shadow with like $20,000-$30,000, I think.
Interesting.
And I paid for all the molds, that paid for the trademarking, intellectual properties,
right.
All that kind of stuff,
So
it was the big difference from UGP, which was $500.
Yeah, for real.
But it's still a very low amount of money.
Yeah. Did you end up selling UGP? I get one of the questions that people are asking is UGP ever going to come back?
Well, it's kind of crazy, man. Like I get approached by this factory from Malaysia in, I don't even know what year it was. It was 99, 2000, something like that. And they wanted to buy UGP. And at the time, I was having such a hard time because basically we became the farm league for Fox Racing. All of our riders, they would get to a certain amazing level. And I was like stoked for them because they're going to make money, So Fox would pick them up. That was one variable of it. And I knew that I was like, man, I need some money if I'm going to actually compete in the clothing arena, going from a BMX company with a BMX focus outside.
Yeah.
So I made a pros and cons list, and through it, I knew that there was a chance that this could not work out correctly. Shadow was 2 years old at the time and not big enough to live on its own, but I didn't sell Shadow. I didn't sell Sparkys. I only sold UGP to this factory. And honestly, man, like it was crazy, man. Like I sold it to them and I would start going to their new office, which was weird. They got like a really expensive location. Now, one day I go to their office and they're like, hey, we're gonna fire the team. Like, you can't fire the team. I know some of these dudes have been with me for like 10 years. I was like,
Yeah.
and then I come in the next day and they're buying Herman Miller furniture, which I love Herman Miller furniture, but at the time we're like, hey, you can't be talking about firing people and buying expensive furniture, which we could sit on boxes if we had to.
Yeah, for
You know
real.
what I mean? So honestly, at that time, I'm the kind of person, I won't do anything solely for the sake of money. And
Yeah.
I had to take a deep breath, and I could have milked it. I could have easily stayed on, made easy money, not done shit, but that's not me. And I quit. And it was insane because then I had to go back but to reality and was like, oh shit, Shadow's not big enough. And it's crazy. If you go back and look at the first t-shirt collection, it's like the most angry t-shirt, like skeletons cut heads off, like skinless women that have like stripper hands with
You're
dollar
talking about
bills
Shadow, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
all that
Yeah.
collection. Go back and look at that collection.
Yeah.
It was gnarly, like super gnarly,
I love
and I
that.
love it. It's still one of my favorite collections that we've ever done because it was each shirt was shocking and challenging people to think
Yeah.
in a way. And again, tying back into the conspiracy and tying kind of back into what UGP was always about. UGP was always about a message,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
I love that. And so are you designing the shirts for Shadow?
then
Yeah. Like is that where the rage from what you're seeing UGP happen inspires the imagery on Shadow? Is that what you're saying right now?
It definitely was. At that time, I've always had art directors. So, there was Chip Riggs or Sean Bartels, there was Evan Parker. We have Arno Moeller. We've had, many different, Jason Richardson. We've had many different art directors
Love
within
them.
our company.
Yeah.
They're all great people and I love them. At that time, it might have been Chip or Evan assisting me with the concepts, but I was definitely up until probably the past 4 or 5 years. I'm probably less of the creative director anymore and more overall higher level.
Right.
But back
Yeah.
then, I was definitely
In the
if
trenches.
I wasn't physically,
Yeah.
I was definitely directing every aspect.
Nice. That's dope.
From a creative standpoint, it's like, but it's also from a manufacturing standpoint. I was always right there too.
Yeah. So now it seems like we started the conversation with the origins of UGP, and now we've gone back in time, and we're kind of at that meeting point. Let's start with I guess you got your OG Shadow team, and what are the steps that it takes to grow a company like Shadow, and what were the growing pains? What did you learn in the first couple of years of doing it? Like where's the money coming from? You invest 30 grand, but where's the money coming back to you in what form? Like what's the highest margin product, and what was important, and what were you guys doing?
Man, it was an extremely unique time that I had no clue that I was entering into because I wasn't the first to go over to Taiwan. Like I think Volume and Federal might have been one of the first kind of core brands to go over, and through them, I think Moeller might have been one of or We the People was the first, I believe, and Volume, and then Federal, and then S&M, and then I learned through those guys. Oh shit, you go over here. So the thing that was back then, it was just a really unique time. Like it wasn't difficult, it wasn't easy, but it wasn't as difficult as it is the past decade. Like it's definitely a lot hard because you could show up in Taiwan back then, jokingly, with 20 grand and start a company. You probably need 100 something thousand now to start a company over there. So back then, what ignorance is bliss, right? Like didn't really, money came from basically from us, honestly. I mean, back then it was get in the van, drive, fly, do, talk. Good thing is we already had the structure. Because initially let me back up way back.
Okay.
I was at a point in the very, very beginning that Shadow was either going to be a shoe brand or a parts company. And because I love shoes, and I went to China, I studied shoe manufacturing. I know exactly how to make shoes. I made a couple shoes before I sold UGP, and then they made some shoes afterwards, but I made a couple, so I learned. I realized that it was a bad idea because first off was like the amount of shoe sizes, colors, designs, SKUs. Bike shops don't sell shoes, bike shops sell bike parts. So I kind of was like, you know what, let's go this route. This makes more sense. And it was, even though I love shoes, it's more the passion. So again, everything I do in life, I try to kind of
Pros and
balance
cons.
out.
Yeah.
I don't try to go in and say, here it is. I always try to have both sides of the coin, figure it out, and then go down the right path. So it became a parts company. And then the good thing about doing that is I already had the worldwide distribution channels because of UGP.
Okay. Dope.
So it definitely made it more plausible, not easy, but more plausible to kind of.
I'm trying to picture worldwide distribution channels in 2002 and 2003 without, I guess it's like, because it's not automated through the internet like it is now, but it was just phone
faxes,
calls and
emails were going off then. So it was emails, fax, social media wasn't really there yet at all.
Barely. I think MySpace might have existed or Friendster or something at that point.
MySpace, Friendster and MySpace definitely did a little while into it.
Yeah.
You know, and it started, especially MySpace. I remember like, you know, about how cool it get your flare going on your page. Yeah. So the kind of going into that was really where it like, I can't really speak on what was hard or not, because it almost just seemed like the concept just kept flowing and growing, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, okay, here it is. And a big thing for us with Shadow was Byron had the idea for the interlock chain, which was groundbreaking for chains, you know, and that was our second year of business. And honestly, that's still our hero product. That's our number one product. It's definitely the product that changed the market. It still leads, even though there's lots of imitations, it's still stronger and better than those, you know. But that was really hard because I went to every major chain manufacturer and asked them, and they're like, nah, you don't need this in your life. We don't need this, not happening. And I finally found one factory, whom is still the factory we use, and they only make our chain. So no one else is made there. And they said yes. So that was amazing, you know.
That is amazing.
Because I feel like many brands, I think as a brand, you should bring something to the table that's vibe based and bring something that's technically based. And you're not really a company, in my opinion, unless you have these, meaning us bringing like seats and bringing that kind of
vibe,
street fashion as vibe. Blockchain plus many other things we've done are technically, you know. And I think that's really, really important from a brand standpoint, because you always got to think about what are you bringing to the table. There's many variables. There's not just two, but those are the two that I tried to focus on, you know.
I love that.
I still apply that same logic to everything I do. You know, it's like it has to have the objective. The thing we talk all the time, we're starting. So I was like, well, what is the objective? What is the purpose? Why?
Right.
And if you can answer that within a reasonable short amount of time, then it's probably a good idea to go to the next phase.
Yeah.
You know, but kind of going back, so kind of like what was hard and not. I mean, it all was freaking hard, especially in 20 years ago, when I went over to Taiwan. I had this trading company that the guy just loved to party. And I was like, I like partying too. You know what I mean? This is fun, you know, but when you're traveling 24 hours door to door to get someplace, but I get over there and I'm the kind of person, if I go to a new country, I will do anything you tell me. I'll eat anything you put in front of me. I'll get wickedly drunk to eat it, you know, but I'll do whatever you say. Well, this guy was taking me to all these hotels and these bars that I was like, what the fuck's going on? Like, you'd pull up to the hotel and it'd be like a gate and you go in, and then every hotel room had a garage door. And I was like, that's weird. So you pull in the garage door, go down, you go upstairs, and every TV had porn on it, like dildos and whatnot. Well, come to find out, they're all called love motels. And I'm like, and then they take these things called KTVs, which are basically karaoke bars, but they're essentially brothels. So all these women would be there, and I'm like, I'm not into this. I'm like, this is fucking weird, man. And they would just get you so drunk, and they would just be drinking, you know, and it was just, I was like, what the hell is going on in this country?
I'm doing this for Shadow.
I mean, honestly, I was like, okay, I'll do it. And the next day, you're just like, oh my God, trying to walk in and talk about something. And then when I met Stephen Liu, he actually started taking me to all these places. I was like, oh my God, Taiwan is amazing. It is a great country, great people.
That's a bucket list place I want to go.
You have to, because it's such a cool place. But it is one of those things, like with traveling, you're like, okay, I'll do whatever till I figure it out. And as years went on, I was like, nah, man, I ain't going there. I ain't drinking. I keep telling us these now, you want to party, dude? You fly to my house and I'll get you wasted.
Yeah, for real.
Like, we'll have a great time, you know? But You pay for the plane ticket, you know? But it was crazy because you would just be like, oh my God, it was just the weirdest scenarios that you would just be in, you know? But
Yeah.
those are probably some of the hardest things, just trying to learn how to communicate, you
How to
know?
do
And
business like
I know, dude,
via
you'd have to
in
like
a
play
different culture.
games, you know, because especially there, like I'm so laid back and I don't like getting mad. I do everything in my power not to be mad,
Yeah.
you know, always suppress it. But I'd have to pretend like I was mad and like slam the thing, and I would leave and then just go walk on a block, read
And
my
just
phone, do stuff, and then come back and then sit
yeah.
down and act like I was pissed, but I that's not the way I'd rather communicate it, you
Right.
know. You'd have to
You can
play
put a
games
poker
like
face on,
that.
but you have to do that over. That's interesting. A lot
You
of
have to
emotion
do
in business in Taiwan,
in just old school mentalities. They don't respect you unless you
unless you have
hammer.
unless you have
Yeah,
outbreaks, you know.
yeah, and I'm not into that at all. I
Yeah.
hate that style,
What
you
about
know.
like because I've heard in different cultures like it's not right to just go straight into business. You're like required to chit
Yeah.
chat for 15 minutes. Like if there's an actual like amount of time that you have to just be talking about the weather or your wives or whatever. Did you run into that at all?
I mean, good thing is for me, I like starting every conversation in that manner. So
Yeah.
it never really bothered me, you know, but it is weird because you can't you have to be very careful about being extremely direct, like with Japanese. Like you can't go to a Japanese person, figuratively speaking, and tell them they're doing something wrong. You have to kind of come underneath and kind of say, hey, how's this? Because that's not how that culture works. Like
Yeah.
American or English is awesome because that's why it's the language of business. I mean, the British made, thank God we are lucky enough to be in an English speaking language, but it's
Yeah.
not our language. The British, they're the ones that made it the language of business by traveling
Interesting.
around, colonizing the whole
Oh, true.
world.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they brought it everywhere. The good thing about English is it's direct. I remember one time we were in a meeting and it's early on. There was a bolt with a washer. All we wanted was the washer to come off, and that was it. Like 30 minutes into it, and I remember I was just like, "Take the fucking washer off, man!" I'm like, you know, we're Byron and I were, our DL or Byron and I were sitting there, and we're like, they aren't even fucking talking about the washer. They're talking about going to KTV or something, you know. It's like, you know, but literally with in Mandarin, they're not very direct. You know, what I've learned is the points in the middle, you discuss around it till I think, I'm not those technically, until someone assumes what the person's trying to state is what it
Wow.
feels like.
Yeah.
And it's, so it is careful. You can't be so direct, you
That's
know,
interesting.
but
Yeah.
unfortunately I'm wickedly direct because
Yeah.
I don't like gray area and I don't like dancing too much,
Right.
you know? So I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, so it is a fine line, you
So
know,
did
it's
you learn
like,
everything like as far as, negotiating and being in business, did you learn everything just by doing or did you read any books? And if you did read any books about sales or negotiating, what's an example that you would want or if a young kid's interested in starting a business, what's a good book for them to get started?
man, I would have been I got on my bookshelf back here, you know, I've got
Yeah.
the Phil Knight Shoe Dog book, which I highly suggest
What is it?
reading. Phil Knight Shoe Dog.
Oh,
It's
Phil
all
Knight
about
Shoe
how
Dog.
Phil started Nike. Um,
That's dope. That sounds like a good book. I should read that.
God, there's so many. I'm trying to think, but it's in the past, it was all life lessons.
Right.
You know, I can still remember when I started UGP, and when UGP became actually really successful is when I started making number plates. And actually, I'll jump back one quick second. I'll go to what I was about to talk about. Is like when I started that, I was ordering the plastic, and I had to go to the plastic place, and I get there, and I remember the guy. I'm talking to the guy, and he ordered the wrong plastic. It had a grain on it. It wasn't a matte satin finish. And I'm talking to him, and the guy looks at me, and he goes, "Don't cry over spilt milk." And I'm like 17 at the time. My dad's with me, and I'm like, I was just so young. I was like, what the fuck do I say? Fast forward like 5 years or 8 years later, I stopped doing business with the guys too. I was like, fuck that guy. You know, I
Yeah.
was like, fast forward later, the guy comes to me and he goes, I want your business. I saw it, the screen printer, you're doing this, this, and this. And this was one of my first lessons I taught myself. I was like, oh yeah, what deal can you give me? And make it the lowest deal you can possibly make it. I don't really do business in this way. So then I took it, went back to the people who I really like. They beat that price. And then I went back to the guy and said, do it. You got to beat it. So he made it even lower. And then I bought it from him. I said, hey, man, I'll let you know. You said this to me at 17. I'll never do business with you again, but thanks for the deal. And I left, I was like,
don't cry over spilled milk, bitch.
But it's my life lesson I took out of that is always respect everyone in front of you, because you never know who they might be in the future, you know? And not who someone's going to be. That shouldn't be the deciding factor. It should be like treat people good because that's how you want to be treated.
For the sake of doing it, yeah.
So from there, then fast forward before I get to the number plate part is that I in 1988, my mom and dad drove me and Willie to the NBL Grands in Louisville, Kentucky. I went there, they dropped me off, or in the back seat, I was like riveting Velcro to the number plates. I get to this place, we had a tent, my parents left, they left us there, we're like 17 or whatever, and I had a tent, and I met Alan Foster.
Nice.
And then Alan Foster introduced me to Brian Foster, and I met Jason Lonergan, I met basically everyone. Then I met a gentleman named Charlie Danishek. Fucking coolest guy ever. He was one who started DK.
No shit. Okay.
Cycles, which was the best distribution company. And I didn't understand what even a distributor was at the time.
Right. Yeah.
I met Charlie, and Charlie actually, dude, I had number plates with no bags, no headers, zip ties taped on the back of the number plate. And I was like, here's what I'm doing. And he saw what I was trying to do. But that gentleman helped me so much because he helped me start making real income.
Yep.
The second thing he taught me was he started educating me on packaging and how it works and why and how. And then even today, one of my number one things I'm into is how something's presented. And I really state a lot that came from him.
Yep. I think, that's one noticeable thing that I love about Sparkys, Shadow, Subrosa, everything. The one thing that comes to mind is the coffin that the chain comes in. Like, that's beautiful. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go on.
That was a cool packaging too idea, because when we did those coffins, we're like, how do you use the same material, the same printing process, everything? We didn't have the idea of the coffin. It came through going, how do we make a box that's different with the same exact materials? And that packaging was the first box I've ever seen someone actually keep. Keep it on their desk, which is really cool. You know, it's like, so packaging. Oh, and through
meeting Charlie.
Yeah, me and Charlie. And then through Charlie, I met Alice Bixler, which Alice Bixler was the Florida State Commissioner for racing. Okay. And Alice gave me 1989, my senior year of high school, I got to do the Florida State plate, which was like 1,000, 1,500 number plates or something.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but through them, I got to end up doing, because everyone loved her. I love her still today. She was the one that, those two people gave me my chance, you know.
That's great.
But through her, I got to do Pennsylvania, Michigan, Indiana, and something else. And that basically, I walked into my job in 12th grade, I quit, and I never have had a job someplace else ever again. You know?
Good for you, man.
Kind of a launch into, you know.
Yeah. Well, let's stick on that. The original, through Alice getting the deal to produce the number plates for all the Florida racers. What does that look like? Is that you at that point? It's you individually doing it, maybe with Willie helping, or
Willie was a part of everything since day one. GL, Greg Lantham, our product director. He was the first pro, which we'll talk about that. He was my first USA pro I ever sponsored.
Nice.
And I met him at 14, sponsored him probably around 16. And he still works with us, you know. So at that time, it was just me in my bedroom, and I subcontracted out the number plates and things like that. I was printing my t-shirts in the garage, but I didn't know how to print plastic yet until I learned how to do that. But so that's the way I was doing it then. It was just me. Man. You know, it's funny, like, there's so many like old school racers like Dylan Clayton, Dr. Smooth, or Paul Roberts, or Dale Holmes, or like all these guys. I remember or even all the bass guys like Robbie Morales, Enos Colombo, you know, like all the bass dudes, they all stayed at my house. They all saw UGP from the inkling, like my bedroom, you know.
That's dope.
And I still keep in touch with these dudes. I mean, the bass thing's kind of cool because arguably, I could be wrong on this, but I'm kind of positive that bass and UGP, I believe, did the first ever in any industry brand to brand collaboration. Skateboarding, whatnot, etc. You know, that was 1990, I think.
That was when I was
you
born.
know.
That's
I mean, it was
awesome.
crazy because that trip that we did that on, Robbie, Enos, 20 people stayed at my house. And my
20
mom was just
people.
20 people. We had my VW bus, Brooke Man's back, but she still rides too. Brooke was fixing my VW bus, and we're all in my garage printing T-shirts. Everyone's sleeping underneath counters, like underneath the kitchen tables, whatnot,
Yes.
etc. And it's cool. Like Robbie, me, all of us, we're all still super tight. You know, I
Yeah,
mean,
that would be
it's
my next
awesome.
question. Just thinking about you have a relationship with Robbie.
Yeah.
I was just looking you up on YouTube to see what was out there, and Brant Moore did a
Yep.
little interview with you guys at I think Swamp Fest or something last year, and that's cool that you guys have that. Do you like? And I imagine because there's not that many BMX companies distributors, and it could be competitive since it's a small
Mhm.
slice of a small pie. But like, how would you describe your relationship with all the other company owners? And is it friendly or is it competitive? Are you guys collaborating? And like, do you guys
I mean,
share what you're working on, or is it kind of just like cordial? What's the relationships like?
any of the guys that have been around for as long as I have, I'm really good friends with. You know, like Harry from We the People We Made Things, or Stu Dawkins from '70s. You know, Federal, etc. You know, Moeller, Robbie. Like, I mean, just
Yeah,
go. I mean, everyone is cool. Obviously, there is competition, but I don't look at competition the way most people believe in competition. I compete against myself. I don't really look at what other. I mean, I'm aware, 100% aware,
right.
but I just don't really look at that kind of stuff in that way, man. I mean, I like when I see another brand do something good, I'm like, fuck yeah, I gotta do something fucking good. It's
Yes,
like,
that's the right
and that's the way
attitude.
I look at it. And I love competition, you know what I mean? It probably
Yeah,
comes from the racing days and whatnot and things like that,
yeah,
it's like, but yeah, I'm real cool. Like when I go to different countries, hell, it's just in Germany, and I would have seen Harry, but he was out of the country, like,
yeah,
so so yeah, I like to be as cool with everyone as I possibly can. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like, and
Life's better that way, you know?
dude, it's a passion driven industry. At the end of the day, in BMX or any industry really, you'll have a high, someone else have a low, they'll have a high, and you'll have a low.
Right.
It's really all about the average of the journey. And that's
Yep.
all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have the best time I can over the longest time. I'm trying to make the best stuff I can over the longest time. I do zero in my life. I don't even want to. I don't even want friends for short term. If I'm going to spend the time explaining myself to someone, that's a lot of energy. I'm not
Yep.
going to do it just so I can know this person for a minute. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, hell, I mean, of the 17 people or whatever it is that work at Sparky's, I mean, probably 6 of them have worked there for over 20 years.
Yeah, that's that.
You
It felt like
know?
a long. It felt like an old family working there,
Yeah.
and even just the process of getting involved with you guys. When I pestered Sure with emails for like 6 months, like, hey, you still looking for a videographer? And then I think the final straw was I took some initiative and made a video of a premiere at Gordy's bike shop, and you saw that. I took that initiative, and then you guys
Uh-huh.
gave me a chance and pulled. That's not it. You didn't get the job yet, Bob. So you got to come out and check out and see if you vibe with all of us, and then go on this
Uh-huh.
trip to Atlanta. The Subrosa in Atlanta video is my tryout video to see if I got the
Uh,
job,
it
dude.
was so
And
much
so,
fun.
yeah, man, it really was. It was a special period of my life. Like, I still like I get to go on my whole life now and say that I got my dream job. Like by the time I was 22, I
Yeah.
accomplished enough to say like this is literally my dream job and I got it. So that feels good. So thanks for that.
I'm always stoked on that stuff too. I love when people have a segment of life, a part of Sparky's, and they go on to do massively cool stuff. And then I want Sparky's to be that place, that like opportunity center, and
Yeah.
people are actually like, okay, we're here, we're doing this. And my goal is always, even if someone moves on as a rider or an employee, I want to be cool with them. It doesn't always work that way, but I want it to be that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like
Exactly.
because each journey, each experience is a layer of like who we are becoming,
Mm-hmm.
so it's
It's interesting.
but it's kind of one of the things too, is like when you kind of go back to number plates and whatnot, like in those early years, I did probably one of the very first jumping contest series. It was called the Flying Circus.
Cool.
And I don't know if it was the first one or not, but it was arguably one of the first. I did 3 stops: Daytona Beach, Columbus, Ohio, and Louisville, Kentucky.
Flying Circus,
And
Flying Monkey
yeah,
Circus, is that what you called it?
it was just called the Flying Circus
The
because
Flying Circus. Okay.
UGP had the monkey head. And that was like an early icon of,
So,
from the very, very, very beginning, like how
and
we
this
had
is
the monkey
just a
before
dirt jump contest, a freestyle jumping contest.
It wasn't. It's funny looking back because we had to use the jumps that are already there, like the first straight in Louisville, Kentucky, which was not a good jump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was a jumping contest series. A lot of dudes. like Taj. That's how I met Taj. Was at
Sick.
Louisville. I saw him riding. I was like, holy fuck, that guy. He rode for Albies. That was his only sponsor at the time, and then
Legend
became the sponsor. But I've always been a big proponent that if you're going to take, you must give. And that's our business model.
Yeah.
So we're going to make money. So, we did the Flying Circus. We did Roots Jam for 8 years. It was 300 riders in 3 days and did Flatland through Park.
Yeah, dude, Roots is pretty legendary. And
it was
I do want to talk about that. Let's stick on Roots for a second.
Oh.
I mean, how did it come up? I think it's so embedded in like a lot of mid-school / old school, even younger kids, maybe they know of the Roots jams.
Yeah.
How did it originate? And yeah, tell me the story of the Roots jam.
The story is like UGP was a disruptor in racing, so every race we go to, we always try to do something kind of crazy, more outfits. Like we had like mechanics outfits, all tan with like, their names written on it, patches, because everyone had fancy uniforms and whatnot, or we did military uniforms and whatnot.
No.
But then that started leading to, we did a military tent in a whole booth. And I found this place that did movie props, and I knew the guy that worked because I got all this movie prop stuff for a military booth. Then we did a Hawaiian booth with hula girls and whatnot and Hawaiian outfits. Then we did, like, Ryan sure has a great story on this one, is we did a catfish shack. We all dressed up as hillbillies and we were drinking Southern Comfort and getting all crazy.
Hell yeah,
Ryan
brother.
Dude, he's got a great story of like coming into there. And then that was our last, then we decided, like, hey man, we've been doing this for a minute, man. Like because every race we'd all go to as a group, we'd go to whatever state it was. And as soon as race was over with, we'd all go find the local ditch, pools, trails, etc., go ride it. So everyone was in town. So I went and got like a couple ramps that I just bought from people, like 2 quarter pies, a box jump. And we went to the original Outspoken Bike Shop in Longwood, which is the first real core shop in Longwood, which is Mike Cottle. The Cottles are, Mike Cottle still, I'm going next week to see Cottle, in Pittsburgh for Welcome Jam.
Yeah.
But yes, we did it there, and that was the first one, and we did it, and we're like, man, it wasn't anything crazy. I mean, and that's one thing I always tell people is do something with what you have, not with what you don't have.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, just doing is really powerful.
For real.
So,
yeah.
So we did that one, and it was so much fun, man. There's video footage out there. It's rad. You can see like Corey Nostagio, like launching the spine ramp to flat ground and like all this kind of shit. It was really, really fun. I remember that one, all of a sudden this truck drives up with a long trailer and a whole band on the trailer with ski mask on. And they just start raging metal. And then they played a song and then they left. We still have no clue who they were.
What the fuck?
So that Roots Jam.
A drive-by metal show and then get the fuck out? That's amazing.
So that Roots Jam, basically, we stopped doing fun stuff at the race. And then the following year, we went to this parking lot on the same road that the race was on.
Okay.
More near downtown. That was the second one. That was pretty fun. We had a car, and I remember standard dudes, like they were hacking with an atch, and like Pete Augustin was there, and like Sean Albright passed out because it was so fucking hot, and then and that must have been 99, I think. And then I found about the fairgrounds, and I went and rented the fairgrounds. And I had the 2 pavilions. We had a middle section. We would go out there, and, like all the Boston crew, like Steve, Mark Reyna, Sean, John from Skid Mark Ramps. Like we would just go there and just sleep at the fairgrounds and build ramps all night for a week.
Sounds like Swamp Fest.
I mean, a lot cleaner and nothing burning.
Yeah. But is the location fairgrounds? That sounds like where I've heard of a Swamp Fest being. Is that true?
No, it wasn't there, but that's still where the Orlando BMX track is.
Okay, gotcha.
It's in 2 locations, essentially same spot. And that's why we did it there, because the race, it'd be Easter weekend, so the race was going on, and we did that there. So that was fun, man.
Yeah,
Having
dude.
that. And
And
Roots
just the
was
fact that you like
cool
started it, why is it called Roots, first of all?
because everything again was really corporate at the time, and there was like X Games was going and whatnot. And we wanted to offer a competition, but relax, because everything if it's competition based is like
Yeah.
robot, right? You know.
Intense.
So our
Right.
idea was like, don't paint the ramps, leave them all wood color, but put logos on it,
Dope.
whatnot. But
Yeah.
that was really hard, man, because it would cost about $30,000, 30 something $1,000 back then to put on the event as we went through it. And we'd only charge each sponsor about $1,500 to sponsor it. And we would have to paint all those logos. We hand cut the stencils of everyone's logos, paint them on it, build all the ramps. Then I started getting to the point that I started learning about like renting empty semi trailers. So we started putting all the ramps in trailers and taking them way out to Kissimmee, parking them for the whole year and bringing it back. Then we buy a little more
Okay.
wood, and
Yeah.
it kept getting. So by the 8th year, it was awesome. I looked around and I was like, this is so fucking rad.
It's
It's
so
done.
fucking rad.
I was like, it's done. I wanted to end it
On a
at a
high
high
note.
point, and it's cool because I think it was the right decision, because I still get monthly messages saying, "Oh, bring
Bring
Roots
Roots
back,
back.
bring Roots
Yeah.
back." I'm like, well,
Yep.
give me a sugar water sponsor, and we can definitely bring it back.
You say
You
sugar water
know,
sponsor?
yeah. I mean, that's the only way to pull it
Yeah.
off. Shoes, and energy drinks are really the only way to get
Yeah.
that capital to put on an event like that. It's just
For real. So
insane.
how would you, to somebody listening who's a kid in a
Yeah.
local scene and wants to put on a jam or an event, what's your advice? Like other than just do it with what you have, how would you go about if you weren't who you are right now, if you
Yeah.
just starting from the bottom, what's the process to get a decent jam going? What would you tell somebody
the
to
bad
do?
thing is everyone thinks to do a jam, you got to give away free stuff. It's like, stop all the free stuff and make it about the presence. Be there, be aware, be a part of a community.
I like that.
In let Stop making everything instantaneously. Things don't have to be big. Make it small and personal. Make it 10 people, then make it 20 people, then make it 200 people. Like,
Yeah.
make things fun and chill. And again, going back, do with what you have. You know, everyone's like, I have nothing. I mean, look at Candyland in Longwood. It's a prefab park that's created some phenomenal riders, and it is nothing
Nothing.
that special.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, it's the thing that's cool about BMX, especially modern BMX. Like when modern street riding came in, nib jib, you could take a curb to a gap to a sidewalk, and that's a spot now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's phenomenal. Like you can make, I mean, watching Chase Dehart ride and the
Yeah.
way he can take anything and make it look
Sick as
fucking
fuck.
cool.
Yeah.
Also, too, the thing is, I'm kind of going off the contest thing, like Simone. You know,
Yeah.
to me, I'll go back to the contest thing, but
Yeah.
Simone's another dude that it looks plausible. You could be as good as him, but you can't.
You can't.
But the cool thing is it looks like you could when you
Yep.
watch him ride. And that's important, I think, in BMX. When you're also pushing Evil Knievel too much, you're like, I can't do that.
Exactly. It's
You know?
unrelatable. I agree. And Simone is so tech. He makes it look so simple that you're like, oh, I should go try that. And then you go try it and you get humbled.
I don't know how he does.
It's magical, man. Most of the shit I have to watch 3 times to understand what he did. Like his like
slow-mo.
Yeah, exactly. And just like repeat it over and over. It's like, hold on, wait, he did what with which peg and what foot? That's so cool, man.
You know.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think one of the things I really want to try and talk about today too is we as a community need to take control. We're really bad in BMX about not controlling the message or the environment. We got to go to the local community meetings, get the skate parks on the street plazas, whatever. Put on events, man. Like, doesn't matter. Like, have a high air contest, have a bunny hop contest. Like,
Right.
don't give prizes. Make trophies out of garbage. Do whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? but everyone needs to stop making it about what am I going to get?
Yeah.
How am I going to get sponsored? Like, stop all that. Like, start thinking about how am I going to laugh? How am I going to create a lifelong friend? What memories am I going to leave with this? How do I like get inspired? You know, because inspiration typically doesn't come with you locked in a closet. It's being around other people that are like-minded that are going to help you
Yep.
improve your outlook and your perception, you know. And I think local events, if you don't control the local, how do we ever control the
Yeah.
world for
For
BMX?
real.
And we are like terrible as a community. We constantly are, you know, behind the eight ball or whatever the right wording is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm like, come on, man. Like, so yeah, I honestly think it's like nowadays, if you got Instagram, make a flyer. It could be text. Who gives a fuck? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It doesn't have to be anything. Don't don't ask everyone for $500 worth of free product that
Yeah.
now you're gonna put the local bike shop out of business because everyone gets free product.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's happened with a couple of shops. You know, they gave away so much that they went out of business because of their local events.
Shit.
You know, and
Yeah.
but dude, the thing is things can be simple, man. It can be a Subrosa street rail and have a game of bike, you know, a
Right.
game of rail or whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It doesn't have to be insane. But the one thing is we do need to get more involved. We have to get more involved with our local government. We have to put on more events that are ours,
I agree
you
with
know,
that.
and not others.
I think I went to one hearing at a government building about a skate park thing, and it was so dry and like you just sit and wait for a long time, but you got to do it. Like that's the slow moving bureaucracy that here in Arizona for like when I first got into it 16 years ago, the skate parks were like brutally anti-bike. Like you couldn't ride your bike in a skate park for like more than a second without the cops coming, and there's a bunch of protests, and it's since loosened up a lot, which is really nice. But like just
Yeah.
like shit like that, you have to
Yeah.
go through the process of like going and getting involved, and so
I
the
mean,
yeah
skateboarding is our big brother. You
yeah
know, like people are like, oh, BMX. It's like, look, it doesn't copy skateboarding. It's honestly, BMX and skateboarding were created essentially in the same bowl in Venice.
yeah
Those dudes, the Dogtown, they rode BMX bikes there, skated, rode them in there, and then left out. The
yeah
problem was, or even like World Industries. World Industries skateboarding and Bully bikes shared the same warehouse,
huh
and Bully Bikes and World Industries became the biggest skateboarding company in the world. So
interesting
Mark McKee was the artist for World and Bully. So all the original Bully graphics were all done by Mark McKee.
no
And Mark
shit
McKee and Sean Cliver were the main artists for all World Industries, and he did all the craziest, gnarliest graphics. And he's a BMXer.
huh so that's
You
like
know, I mean,
yeah what you're saying about like big literally big brother we're related. BMX
yeah.
and skateboarding are
I mean, Spike Jones, Jeff Tremaine, Jackass, Spike Jones, obviously everyone knows Spike Jones, Jeff
yeah
Tremaine, Jackass, whatnot. You know, Mark Luman's part of oh my God, I'm having a brain fart. Um at agency in Portland, Oregon. I'm having a brain fart there, but Mark Luman's gone on. I mean, like all these dudes, they're phenomenal people. They've gone and do really great stuff. And that's all skateboarding. And
yeah
BMX was right there. We're just really bad as a group about becoming a collective and working together for an outcome, you
right
know. And it's something hopefully the newer school. I mean, government bureaucracy, I'm not very good at, but one thing I have learned, just like anything, go to the meetings, find out people's names, and befriend the people in charge. And that's one thing
yes
I've been trying to do with the different cities. Is I just been trying to find a couple people. I get their emails, and I send them emails sometimes just to say hi. They're like, what
nice
the fuck, you know what I
yeah
mean? But I try to send different things. I try to keep in touch because hopefully, as we all know, once you're in a subconscious, you can be in the conscious mind also, you
right
know. And that's one of the things I think we as a BMXers do a terrible job.
yeah
You
what do
know,
you think is missing? Like you say we're doing a terrible job, what could we do better, and if we did it better, what would be the result? Like what's in your head for the future of
well,
BMX?
if I knew what we were doing totally wrong, I would do it differently. I'm not
Yeah.
sure either. You know, I think maybe we're all just very. I think we all might be more quiet and reserved as a group than maybe others. Skateboarding, maybe one thing we've wondered about is their mentors were surfing, and surfing was a lot more advanced when skateboarding, and so maybe there was some
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What was the second part of that question?
What do you think the future of BMX looks like?
I
I mean,
mean,
that's another wide question.
awesome as far as the action of,
Yes, agreed.
but we definitely, I mean, street riding's only going to get harder and harder and harder with the cities are so wise now, so
they're not
street
building new
plazas,
spots really.
it sucks. Sometimes you're like, man, are those architects? Are they actually skaters and BMXers and being dicks? Because
Yeah.
shit's getting completely different than like the architects from the 70s and 80s that
For
were like,
real.
oh my God, you can session this and and things like that. But it's I mean, the thing is it's because the awareness in action sports has gotten so popular that going to different spots just gets harder and harder and harder, man. And
Yeah.
so I think having more street plazas, more avenues, more compounds. I mean, the compound thing you see a lot of people doing with their their yards and whatnot, buying properties.
Right.
That's pretty cool, man. But
That
that's
is cool.
singular. That doesn't really necessarily help an
The
overall
whole
community,
Yeah.
and stuff. But I mean, I don't know. It's a really good question, and I'm hoping there's someone out there that can like, I was talking to Ditch Matt one time, and I was like, "Hey, man, I wonder if this would be plausible. Could we go to a city, have Ditch or have Matt, someone go in and go and sue the city for not allowing bikes in? Because which the law, once you have a case study that shows proof of a win, it then can become normalized to all the other.
Right. Yeah. It sets precedent, and then boom.
Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if that's even
But Ditch Matt is a lawyer, so you're talking to the right guy.
And he didn't tell me to fuck off. He said, "Oh man, interesting," and so we were trying to get all the industry people to say, "Hey, let's all pitch in some money, and then let's all hire Matt or someone." And then now I never really went past like probably a couple beer talk conversation, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, because the thing is right now, it's really unfortunate that a government can use your tax dollars and tell you you're not allowed to use the facility. That is insane to me.
It's double using the tax dollars to build the skate park and then to pay the police officer to kick you out of it. It's so crazy, dude. Yeah.
How is that even? I mean, I always wonder, like, who all these new riders of work, their dads, like their moms, like someone has to be
for real
that can do this. Because I don't like this thought because it's kind of coming in from a negative point. But at this point, I'm like, man, BMX is amazing, man. And like, and the fact that you can ride a BMX, one of the things I think we're missing too in BMX, I love BMX. I love flatland, I love trails, I love street, I love park, I love transition.
Yes.
The singular aspect of I'm only street or I'm only this.
Right.
I get it. But it's a little bizarre to me in some ways because, and I know when everyone's giving everyone shit for like landing in grass or gravel, I'm laughing in my mind because I'm like, that's one of the things I love because you could go ride a rail.
Exactly. That's the benefit of a bike. Yeah. That's what skaters all say. They're all, dude, you can land anywhere. And that's the cool part of it. Yeah, I think we're all over that shit with the hating on people landing in grass. I think as a community, I speak for everybody. You can land in grass now. Rodeo Peanut's dead.
It's approved.
Yeah, for real. So,
but that is one of the things that's super cool about that. I know the conversation keeps going all different kinds of directions.
Oh yeah, it's chaos. But on the opposite of, because you just said you love it all, but let me pose this question to you: if you had to pick one discipline to either watch or do, out of the 5 core disciplines of BMX, like dirt jumping, park riding, flatland, or street, which one are you picking?
Man, that's a tough one.
That is a tough question.
And I don't want to necessarily answer completely because then it kind of goes into whom do you want to watch each one. But to me, my answer would be it depends on who's riding each discipline.
True.
Yeah. So like with transition, flow and steez is just everything, right?
Yeah, dude.
And even with trails, or flatland, like speed, like speed and the faster a flatlander rides, the better it is.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
So cool.
So it's, but for me, I grew up in a time period that you got a bike and I would ride to the track, I would race, I would then go to the trails, I would go ride the skate park, I'd go ride ditches with one bike.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I've loved since Matthias pretty much brought back the double diamond frame for flatland. And I'm really glad that he brought that back.
Wait, what do you mean double diamond frame? What does that mean?
More traditional, more of a, they call it
Okay.
a double diamond, the front, just a normal looking
Just
frame instead of like
yeah.
bent
So
down
he's doing
tubes.
flatland instead of one of the weird frame. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and he was one of the ones, and now that is kind of not the normal, but more the trend, in my opinion. The bike looks way more. I mean,
Yeah.
Seppel, the guy Seppel from Kunstform, he's the founder of Kunstform Mail Order. He's a flatlander, and
Yeah.
he does sick line. He does street lines with flatland tricks,
That I love that.
and does line. And dude, he goes through water, whatnot, fountain.
That's
He does
sick.
like up rails to hang fives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so to me, when you talk about flatland, I'm like, that's what I like. You know,
I'm
it's like,
noticing something about like the convergence of street and flatland to where like if you land a flatland trick and you like stomp your pedals when you land instead of doing the like flatland, because in flatland rules it's different as long as you roll away. Like if you have one foot over here and the other foot's off, it's cool. But like now I've seen a lot of smooth ass flatlanders who are doing crazy tricks, but then ending with a bunny hop tail whip and stomping it on the pedals. Like it's so good.
That is
Yes.
that is sick. I mean, the first time I ever saw a bunny hop tail whip, I was like, impossible. You know? I was like,
yeah, for real.
Holy shit, it's so dope, you know. But honestly, flatland, I mean, street, just like skateboarding, went from freestyle to street. BMX went from flatland to street, and now street is a heavy dose of flatland.
Oh yeah, big time.
You know?
That's like hang fives and manuals and all that came from flatland. Man, I haven't even touched my notes with you, Ronnie. This has been a breeze.
It's fun though. I know I have a tendency of kind of going wide.
We're all over the place.
Back, you know, it's like you know. Well, what's something else you want to?
So we touched on the future of Sparkys. So 2023, we're getting involved in just traveling and seeing people, and you're in the process of planning that out. We talked about your overall business. What's been your favorite era of BMX? Because you've been through, you know, I mean, you're 95 years old, so you've seen a lot, right? Right. What's been your favorite like decade or time period of BMX?
I mean, all 40 years or 30 years of riding, absolutely my favorite. But I would obviously say probably the beginning, because everything was new and shocking.
Yeah.
And before internet and magazines and
the
unknown, that was still awesome.
I could see that.
You know, I would probably say the BS series was probably the 90s when we go to like Scrap in Chicago, or the last BS series at Daytona Stone Edge. That's right when it turned into X Games right after that.
Okay.
And that's the year that like the whole
what does BS stand for?
Bicycle Stunt Series, Matt Hoffman's, like the CFBs, BS. It was CFBs and BS. It was either BS series or I always forget which one was which, but that window was my favorite because we would all started traveling a lot as early 20s, and we all went all over the country like we did for race, but now it was for freestyle.
That's dope.
Really, really, really fun. I always remember the house from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, like Taj, Cody, Joe Rich, like Lucky. They all lived in a house called the Thunderdome.
The Thunderdome.
Yeah, and it was really cool. And I remember they all every event they all entered in, bowl, vert, whatnot, they would only play the 138 song. 138 and play it. I still can remember, you know, and it's like, and I still remember that trip too, because we, you know, it was an exciting time for freestyle in a sense, because before that it was like AFA, or it was the American Freestyle Association, or it was like other types of events. And then Matt kind of brought in that, okay, this is actually a series and we'll do this, and then just go hang out everywhere. You know?
That's dope.
Like it was pretty cool. So but honestly, really what it says, every new year is as cool, because it's evolving, and there's new people, new outlooks, new perceptions, new ways of riding. And it's amazing that you can take a tool and in every couple of years make the tool perform in a completely different way.
For real. And just the progression of, like, with the internet especially, and the instantaneous, like, oh shit, that trick's possible, and then you go out and practice it. And just looking at Josh Dub, the way he rides, like his being influenced from, you know, the Aiken to Chase Hawk, I'm sure, and all that, and just like Josh Dove is a modern day. So that's a fun one. Let's go through the the disciplines, and you just, without thinking about it, give me the first name that comes to mind. Flatland.
Marcus from South America lives in Orlando.
Sick. Okay.
Marcus, I'm sorry.
Street.
I mean, to be unbiased, I won't mention my own crew.
Okay.
So Felix.
Felix is fucking sick. All right. Dirt jumping.
Mark Batosny.
Nice. Park.
I love to say Rim, but he's part of my crew, so I don't want to say.
You can say part of your crew, dude. It's fine.
I mean, I love my crew, so it'd be easy to
yeah,
say.
Your crew's sick.
I think who I would say in Park right now. Chris Fox.
Nice. And then Nitro Circus.
The funny thing is, I'm not very in tune with that space.
Me neither. I just know Ryan Williams, basically.
Yeah, I know of a lot of those dudes, but I really don't know that space at all.
Yeah. I think that covers it. Did I cover all the genres? Flatland, street dirt,
I'd love to go through and just mention all my crew, but I hate when I don't want to be.
Yeah, so if like this is like your this is a fun one. Who's your favorite child? You know, but for your crew.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You know, it's like man, never looks good, does it? Once you say it.
Does the future? So as far as like future of Sparkys team wise, is there going to be? Are we keeping it tight? Are we expanding the team in 2023? What's going on plan team wise?
We're always trying to add new dudes into the the flow, then AM, then pro. You know, our pro team is still the same guys, which is which I
love them all.
Awesome.
Yeah,
great dudes. You know, I mean, all these guys like Simone, I've known since he was 15. I've known Trey since he was 9. I've known like Matt Ray, I've known since he was 14. Jerry, he's one of the newest guys I've met, but I've never met a dude that's weirder and funnier than
he's
Jerry.
So cool. Yeah, I've never met him in person, but you can just tell like
he is a character.
Yeah, I believe it.
But
crazy Russian character. Is he Russian?
No, he's Czech.
Czech. Okay. But, same.
But
it's all over there.
That the Baltic State humor is really, really funny, man.
I love that.
Different. It's one of my favorite places to go. Is going like we did a shadow trip to Russia.
Yeah, you did
10 years ago, and that was we were the first team, I believe, to go there.
Yeah,
and it was wild.
I believe it.
I mean, speaking of that, like when we started Shadow, we're like, man, how do we do a trip that no one's ever done? So we drove from Florida to Austin all the way to Mexico City, and then all the way back.
Wow.
It was nuts, man. We were driving at one point in the middle of the desert, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, lights go on. Ryan Scher's driving. I've been drinking like I'm a 6-pack in or something, probably just hanging out drinking in the desert. I'm like, yeah, all of a sudden there, the guy in front of us was Mexican. He said something, we made it through. I don't know what happened. We went in Mexico City. We went to this rave, and we're all hanging out, and we're like, man, that smoke machine. We go around. The smoke machine, ask any of the guys, was a fucking car engine pushing exhaust fumes into the building.
No,
dude. Then we went to this crazy skate park that was insane. That had spines that were like 12 feet tall. Like there were spines everywhere. Like you'd pop up and you didn't know if there was gonna be a spine or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was in a shanty town. The entire, literally miles were just houses made of just garbage. And this multi-million-dollar skate park. We were the first people to get to ride it.
Weird.
And we went in there. It was a wild trip.
That is wild.
Come to find out, we were going through Laredo at the border of Texas, and come to find out way later on that is the drug trafficking.
The sketchiest way to go in possible.
And that was before. I don't even think we had cell phones then or any of that stuff. So it was. Anyways, again, that's the beauty of getting in the car. And that's kind of one of the things I foresee right now is I do think 2023 is going to be extremely difficult for every segment of business, not just cycling.
Just business.
But one of the beauties of something like that happening is, again, going back, do with what you have, not what you don't. Everyone's going to get back in vans, get back in cars, stay at people's houses. We're all going to start traveling more like the 90s. And it is fun doing the exotic stuff and doing this, but honestly, getting in the road and just going is really cool, man.
Agreed.
It's a really good way to get to know people. And for the past 3 years, haven't really hung out with anyone, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think
Yeah.
2023 is gonna be like get in the fucking van and go see shit, man, and start filming and making cool shit. And I think that's
Yes.
what, and positivity, man. Everyone needs to stay positive. Get in
Yeah.
the fucking van.
You know what? So you mentioned filming. I'm curious about the importance, because I think about this often. I'm like, what is the importance of having a full-time videographer on staff at a BMX company at this point in time? It's like,
I mean,
I put myself in the shoes of being the owner like you, it's just like, I'm not sure if it's worth it to pay somebody a big salary to be the videographer for the team. Like, it's, what are your thoughts on
I
having
think it's
my
I
job
think
existing
I think if
back then?
finances were stronger, it's imperative to have a videographer on
Yeah.
staff. Unfortunately, finances in BMX are not great for that. I mean,
Hmm.
probably I could be wrong on this, but I think the only staff videographer right now might be Stu at S&M Fit,
Yeah.
maybe.
I think you're
I
probably not wrong.
could be
It's
wrong
all
on that,
like
but
project based and contracted out, I think.
I think it's something we as an industry we need that actually. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like we've been blessed to like work with people like you and Chadwick and even Kip Williamson way back in the day and many other phenomenal videographers, but we right now don't have a set person,
Yeah.
but I think it's imperative, but it's at the moment it's just not gonna happen, for a
Yeah.
while.
So like in your case, I would imagine like if you have a team trip planned, you just like contract a filmer to come out and do it. Or if you're going to somewhere where there is a filmer, you can hire them to do it. And that's
True.
interesting. I think that would be, dude, it's so interesting trying to put myself in the shoes of a like BMX company owner. Like
Yeah.
your hero product for Shadow
Yep.
was and always is the chain. What's the hero product for Subrosa or a general BMX company?
I mean, for Subrosa, obviously, it would be like the rail has
The street
been
rail.
phenomenal. I mean, we
Yeah.
invented something. We brought something
That's
to
pretty fucking
that
sick.
helped everyone.
I was there at the
It's like
beginning of that. That was rad.
a wild process,
Yeah.
and that rail was really, really difficult because we had to start with what they call dimensional weight, which is your width times height times width. And the shipping companies all do dimensional where they calculate and have a percentage and then says, hey, this might weigh 40 pounds, but this because of dimensional weight, it might weigh, figure speaking, 70 pounds
Huh.
is the way they look at it. So we had to start that project off with dimensional weight as our main objective because we knew we needed to ship in one box. But then you needed strength and you needed box size. So
Yes.
that was a really wild, because when people
Engineering problem. That's interesting.
and
Yeah.
tubing thicknesses, weight, whatnot, the whole process was a really interesting because people had made breakable legs before, or detachable legs, but no one ever made a rail that came apart in the middle
Yeah.
ever. And we were the first to do it. Now you see like California's ramps copied ours,
Yeah.
blah,
You made something good, Yeah.
and that's fine. I mean, it sucks, right? You love to have a little longer to make a little more money out of it before everyone, but that's the nature of it's not just a BMX thing. It's every industry does that,
Right.
like
Yeah.
and so it is what it is. But I mean, as far as that, I think those are two major.
So for Subrosa, the rail, and that's kind of unique to Subrosa since you guys brought that to market. But like in general, a BMX or a frame or is it complete bikes that is the biggest margin and like the breadwinner for?
No, BMX bikes are quite tough, man. I mean, you might make 15 points internationally to maybe 40 points maybe on domestic with selling to a shop maybe. And then once you start giving free shipping,
what does that mean, points?
Points is like margin.
Okay, gotcha.
Like, hey,
percentage margin.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So how much margin you can make, and obviously you need margin so you can do road trips and you can do things.
Yes.
And all this stuff. So it's funny because BMX was always the thing that was like making money was bad. Making money is not bad. It's how you use the money is good or bad.
Yeah.
And I always been a proponent that if you make money, if you take,
can do dope shit.
And so bikes are extremely hard. And right now the market is going to be so flooded on bikes that no one's going to make any money on bikes for at least till
Damn,
2025.
that's a shame.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's really, really crazy, and stuff. So
What are your
it's,
thoughts on selling videos again? Like I
oh, yeah, I love it.
like I don't think physical DVDs are gonna be distributed anytime soon, but I think there's potential to in this new internet age to, I don't know, sell a video for $5 and see how it does. And like I'm very curious about that. Like maybe there's a
I think it's insane that that's even a question for someone. Do I spend $5 or not spend five
right.
bucks?
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's gonna be plausible. I'll be like Twitter right now, trying to charge $8 a month for
Yeah.
a check mark. Everyone's like,
Exactly.
"What the fuck you want me? You've been giving it to me for free for how long, and now you want to charge me?"
Yes.
So I don't know how it would work in a bigger scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Have you thought about like
honestly,
maybe the Shadow Club, and you join, have you considered something like that? And then just kind of like, that's not really
I
gonna.
think about a lot because back in the day, Club Homeboy, which was Spike, Andy, um, Andy Jenkins, Mark Luman, they started a thing called Club Homeboy, and you could become a member. They send you a zine. You get a hospital band that says Club Homeboy on it.
Sick.
You would get discounts and whatnot, and you get stickers that showed you can only get them if you're through that.
That's
But
interesting. Yeah.
back then, there was a lot less noise, a lot less things for you to spend your money on. So I don't know if people look at things in that way.
Right.
It's like, but I like that idea, and I like the idea of being a part of something. I mean, and I love exclusives. I love things that are limited edition. I love things that are,
Yes.
I can probably see half the toys. I don't know if you can see them or not, but half the toys I have on my shelf back here are all just limited edition toys and things I've
Yeah.
collected on my trips. But I don't know, man. We were just talking. I chat like Trey on when you interviewed Trey. You guys talked a lot about like the no fun video and doing
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff and everything like that. And I think that's really cool because I like his and Chowik's perception was, well, this is a good way for the videographer to make some kind of
Yes.
money out of this,
Yeah.
or just trying to spread the cost within a bigger food chain so then everyone can actually pull this off. Like you
Yeah,
talk
and the
about
burden
Van
isn't on
Shadow.
just you to fund
Yeah.
the whole project. That's, yeah, I agree.
Well, when we used to sell videos, a road trip used to cost not even that long ago. Like you could do like figuratively speaking, not exact numbers, like $1,500 you can do a road trip with a couple people.
Yeah.
It's like 5, 10 grand now to do a
Yeah.
road trip
It
with
ain't
that
cheap.
many people.
Yeah.
No, and it's almost to the point now that you're like, oh shit, that's almost too expensive.
Yeah, I know that your guys' model, or our model, was
Yep.
bringing with one trip a year. With you bring in all the international riders, and
Yeah.
we spend 10 days in Albuquerque or Vegas, and then we
So
have
much
all the
fun.
assets for marketing, for photography, for video, and
Yeah.
all that shit. Like, is that, do you think, gonna keep going forward, or is that not
It's
feasible
it
cost
that's
wise?
it's gonna be that, but with less people.
Yeah, it's got,
and
yeah,
do
makes
and
sense.
probably do it more like, okay, this one of the things I'm really proud of with our brands is we are literally an international riders. All our team is from all over the world.
Yeah.
They're not just from Longwood, Florida. They're everywhere, which is beautiful and extremely difficult. But it's one of our
Yes.
objectives that we want our brand to speak in every language,
Yeah.
meaning not literally, you know what I mean? But like we want the vibe to be all these different elements. Because when you look at our brands, each brand has a very distinctive look. Like, say, for Shadow example, we also have Simone's vibe, Trey's vibe, Matt's vibe, Jerry's vibe, etc. within the overall compass of a
Yeah.
brand. Because one of the things I hate as people or branding is I hate when people or a brand pop, 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 pop to the flavor of the month.
Yeah.
I'm not into that. Because I'm a super fan of the things I like. And
Yeah.
if they're metal one day and then hip hop, then this and that and whatnot, and you're like, and they're into the newest icon or trend or filter or whatever, it's like,
Ugh.
like
Yeah.
it's really about it's. I always say that if in 20 years from now I'm a completely different person, I failed. If 20 years from now I'm the same exact person, I
Fail.
failed. You
Yeah.
have to be incremental evolution, and that's everything. So video, people, teams, that is the way I perceive
I
life
like that.
being.
Yeah.
And I tie that same thought into videos, evolutions, and kind of going back to your beginning question is I think it's going to be us jumping in cars, vans. We're going to hit regions. We're going to hit spots. We're going to show people again kind of how to make the most with the least. And that's
Yeah.
really what I think 2023 and 2024 has to be. The action of BMX is better than it's ever fucking been, man. And I believe BMX has grown. That's an industry thing everyone's kind of talking about, is like, we know for a fact it grew. The question is, how much did it grow, and how much can the industry retain in the new fans?
Yep.
You know, how many of those new fans will be around in 3 years? You
Yeah.
know, and then how will they look at
Because
things?
that is kind of the trend. You get into it around, 15 or 16, and then by the time you're 18, you get a car and you're over it. That's kind of the path for a lot of people, which is interesting. And just like a total side tangent, when you think about being a BMX, your target audience isn't us cool core 29-year-olds. You're marketing to 10-year-olds who are gonna, maybe 10, 13-year-olds, to get their parents to buy them a bike or whatever. It's interesting. I don't know, I find the business side of it so intriguing. I'm like, I don't envy you. I don't want to be in your shoes where you have to manage all this shit.
But you're conscious of your different consumer niches, but ultimately you're not designing for your friends, and your friends don't buy shit. They get it all free from you.
Yeah, exactly.
So as a designer, you got to be conscious to listen to what your friends are saying, but know that they're not always correct, and they're not your consumer either. So it is a very, very, you have to make money so you can make the shit you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is a balance of like, okay, yeah, I might make this one shirt that's not my favorite, but I made these 3 other shirts I'm fucking
exactly.
stoked on these, and that's for me, I want the smallest logo possible. You know what I mean? It's like,
for real, same here. I wear 0 logos for the most part.
That doesn't sell.
Correct.
Big logo, because guys are defined by the crews or the brands they rock.
Yeah.
That's how guys are. Like girls, they can go to and get trend-based purchases. They can get fake shoes, fake clothing, fake everything, because it's all based on a trend. They get fast fashion. They can buy anything, look hot, look good. No one cares. Guys, if you showed up wearing some kooky ass thing, and it wouldn't define who you're down for, and that's guys, so it is an interesting thing how guys look at stuff. It's
speaking of not lost leaders, but like just products that you have a passion for, what is there something right now that's not making money, but you're still selling it because you love it so much? Like I think like, how is the combat lock doing, if it's still doing? And is there any product that you have that you're like, I don't even care that it's losing money, I love this product that much?
I mean, absolutely, yes. I'm trying to think of what that is. It's like, I mean, I love the locks. That's not my passion by any means. I love the fact that when I realized that no one in history of BMX had ever made a lock by a BMX brand, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay, cool. So the lock thing was interesting because we went for the path that most people wouldn't go for, which was a low security lock.
Yeah.
So the objective planning was wickedly fun, and trying to think about like, how do you do this in this way and take a different approach, but things that, I mean, honestly, clothing is probably that, you know what I mean? Clothing is not, we do good. We sell the Zoomies and Union and all these different places we've sold to.
That's dope. You sold to Zoomies? So you can buy shadow shit at the mall?
Yeah, not probably more when they're online.
Okay,
but
still though,
in the mall,
that's dope. Yeah.
But again, it's cool because again, that's the steps we all make as, I mean, Colt sold to Zoomies and a few others. And I think it's an important thing to get the awareness out. But clothing wise, kind of go back to it, I just love making clothing and designing it because our products are cold function metal. They're not, they don't really speak in the same way like an article of clothing does.
Right.
So clothing to me is the way we present vibe and visuals of the technology and the innovation that we put in the products.
Sick.
So for me, I'm really, really into clothing. Obviously, it's my hobby within the brand.
That's your passion.
And it probably doesn't make a lot of sense doing it because it does take a lot of work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we feel it's super important as a way to kind of express
you got
our
to.
Vibes,
Exactly.
And stuff. So it's always really fun in that sense,
Yeah. I think you're interesting because I think that you get a kick out of business. And I know you're passionate about BMX, but I think at the same time, like you're just as passionate about the art of business and like creating something. And
I learned a long time ago, I do not consider myself a businessman. In all honesty, I'm not. I just realized very early on that I like creating. And if I wanted to create, I had to figure out how to create profit, how to make sales and structure. And I'm a person too that I hate gray area. I hate, we at work, we joke about this. We have a spot on the ground that there's tape, a bucket goes there, and the mop hangs above it. We always say, make sure it's on the fucking peg and on that space, because I don't want to talk about where it is. I just want to grab it and do it and put it back.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at business. Organize all the stupid bullshit stuff that I technically hate, but it's imperative if you want to make this cool X, Y, or Z. And that is me. And I honestly, like, if I could not do any business tomorrow and I could only do creative direction and creative aspects, I would be really happy.
I believe it.
You know, it's like, I'd be super happy.
That's one thing that I remember from time out there at Sparkys is I haven't been to all of the distribution centers in BMX, but I would bet that yours is one of the tightest ships, like just systematized everything, like you said, put where the bucket and the mop goes. It's that same type of
just cut the bullshit out of it, you know.
Just it's just a system, and this goes there, and this goes there, and this goes there, and it was very eye-opening and cool to learn for the time that I was out there. It was pretty neat.
Never talk about it again. Let's just talk about the shit that's fun. Like, let's talk about roads, let's talk about products, let's talk about these things, because those are difficult conversations, you know what I mean? And I do think that is business is fun, but it also does suck.
Yeah, of course. It's like you quit your job so you can work for yourself, and now you work 24/7.
That's the way it works, right? You know, you're just like, now you're just working.
I learned that with videos so hard. I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit this job and then work for my own company, and then I'm like, oh shit, I'm working 12-hour days, like 7 days a week. This sucks.
I mean, the beauty of it, when it is as long as it's something you love, it does help. It doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it better.
Right.
It does. I mean, I get to work I'm at work by 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I work till 3, then I go to the gym, work out for a couple hours, and I go home, and then that's what
turn
I
it all off.
You know what I mean?
Good for you. Yeah, you look good, man.
So it's trying, man. I mean, the one thing is you can't control getting old, but you can control getting fat.
Yeah, you really can.
You know?
Are you doing weightlifting?
I do mostly like burst exercises, a lot of stair set running, lots of like planks and burst exercise type vibes and stuff like that.
That's what's up. I've been doing that.
It's just funny, man, because it's like as you get older, I realize like, you start to lose balance.
Yeah.
So I don't ever want to lose balance. I'm not to that point yet, right? I still love doing everything I do, but honestly, there's nothing worse than just allowing yourself just to completely fall apart.
Yeah, for real. I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight mortality as hard as I can. One of the things I think I've learned is like weightlifting supposedly like strengthens your bones and slows aging. Same with like intermittent fasting and low inflammatory diet and all that shit. So that's stuff. Oh, do you cold plunge and sauna and all that? Are you on that biohacking type shit?
I love the cold plunge stuff. We're actually talking about making one.
Yeah.
So I'm really into I drink 140 something ounces of water a day.
Good for you.
I have a big jug, man. I just drink shit tons of water, man. And then honestly, just I love beer, but I'm trying to change that to not doing it too much,
Yeah.
But honestly, it's funny when we were kids. I remember we used to make fun of people for stretching.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't remember ever drinking water.
Yeah.
Taking out the hose, but I'm like, when did we ever drink water? And I'm like, I'm jealous of people now because someone that's 19 or 20 now can have this information.
Right.
And now you could ride your bike for even longer if you just stay. If we stretched, half the motherfuckers wouldn't have gotten hurt.
Yep.
It's
You
like,
know, you seen that
that's
Gary
kind of,
Young video that just came out? Speaking of longevity, dude, it's so
God,
fucked. So
yeah,
cool.
he is. You wouldn't even be able to tell. Like, it's funny. I think of Gary Young. I still look at him. I still think of Gary as a Dirt Brothers.
Yeah.
Like his
Yeah.
original sponsor was on Dirt Brothers.
Yeah.
And he's still just
Killing
so
it. He's got
amazing.
to be one of the most longevity. Brian Foster comes to mind. Who do you think is the longest in the game but still killing? It's got to be Gary, right?
I mean, Foster's got to be one of the oldest
Yeah.
at that level. I mean, Greg Lanthorn's in his mid 50s, and he rides fixed gears, mountain bikes, races BMX bikes,
Yep.
park, retreat. I'm like, I mean, I don't think there's anyone in the world that loves BMX more than GL.
Sick.
you know.
Yeah.
But honestly, when I was a kid, I thought life ended at 25. When I
Same.
was in high school, I thought I was in. We used to say that guy every time a dude was 25. So we're like that guy,
Yeah. Exactly.
and then I'm like, holy shit, I'm double the age of that guy now,
Yeah.
But when we were kids, no one rode BMX till they were that age, Like our generation, like Moeller and I were like kind of the first guys that really started write our own brands coming out of the 80s,
Interesting. Yeah.
and before that, it was always owned by dads that were businessmen that would be into it when it was popping. As soon as it dropped, they were gone. And that's
Yeah.
why in that late 80s, that early 92 was probably the darkest period that
Huh.
we've been in our adulthood of BMX, and
Interesting.
now it's actually now it was more business run back then, and now BMX is more passion run, which has its problems too,
Right.
because I remember a few years ago, I'd be at the trade shows and I'd hear different business owners. They're like, yeah, in the conversation it would come up, oh, my wife has a great job. I'm like, oh, fuck, so your shitty brand is now funded by your wife's job and not because it's
Yeah.
actually a good brand. But the point being is that it's passion. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of BMX, is that it teaches us all so much,
Yep.
but the health thing is, I think, something that I think BMX needs to push more on,
Yeah. I
and
think there is
don't
a
just
it's a good trend going around, and there's a lot of good examples. Like the higher level dudes are showing, like Nathan Williams, he's stretching. Corey Martinez and Demarcus does a good job. Chad Curley is promoting weightlifting, and Matt Ray is actually a really good
Yep.
example of just like it's CrossFit, it's cross training
Yeah.
type shit, which is important.
I think, and Matt Ray and I talk about it all the time. We're always comparing notes, trying to figure out what we're doing, trying to figure out the because honestly, especially coming out of COVID and mental health, exercising and drinking a lot of water really helps people's mental health. And
Yeah,
I'm
big
kind of
time.
hoping that more people will kind of start looking at things in this way and think, if I don't eat these processed foods and I start eating more things that are not in boxes and I start
Yeah.
drinking lots of water, dude, I'll feel a little off, be a little stressed. I'll just drink a fuck ton of water. I swear to God, I incrementally start feeling better.
Yeah, it's magic.
Yeah, it
Because we
really
are water.
is.
We need water.
But how is it that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I'm fascinated by, because I drink tap water, whatnot. I'm always conspiracy theories. I'm like, man, is that fluoride in the water a real thing?
Yeah.
Dude,
If it is, I don't care. I'm using fluoride toothpaste, but and you want me to stop using deodorant? No, thank you. But there might be some truth to all that shit.
I definitely limit like deodorants, like, because there is things, the metals and whatnot that are in
and
it.
your
But I'm not
skin
gonna
is your largest organ, and it absorbs all those crazy things, and blah 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 blah. You've heard it all.
I'm not pulling like Jerice and
Yeah.
Jason, so they're all pulling the hippie sticks.
Yeah,
the
weird bristle tooth. It's like a stick that he brushes his teeth with, and he doesn't wear deodorant. I don't know. I haven't seen him in a minute, so.
I respect it all, you know what I mean? But I'm like, I like a toothbrush.
I love you. I love Jerice. Hopefully he's watching this. Hi, Stinky Joe.
Oh, I love Jerice. I can't wait to see him, man. It's like, that's another thing. It just feels like everything's virtual based. I can't wait for it to actually.
It is virtual based.
Back, it's like but I mean, I think a big thing kind of, I just hope everyone realizes in BMX that we're all in the same van, and we want everyone to have a good time, and I think it's just really important that everyone just respects people's differences and enjoys them, embraces them, make them better. It's like
Agreed.
there's been lots of wacky style riding and there's been lots of very refined and beautiful, pristine riding. I love it all mixed together, you know.
Who's your favorite wacky rider? I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna find our questions from the audience. But yeah, who's your favorite wacky rider?
Probably Jeff Harrington.
Nice.
He's always two different shoes, half haircuts, whatnot. You know what I mean?
That is indeed
he's
wacky.
A really nice dude, and he always had a way of looking at it. But God, there's actually other people. I'm having a brain fart. There's other dudes I love how they look at objects. I'll think about it. That's always hard when you're
Eric Elstrand, Mike Mastroni, Mike Goofy. I don't know. They're not even goofy. They're just creative and awesome.
They have a very different. Oh God, what's this?
Let's see. I like this one, Jonah. You know Jonah, Jachan.
I love him. Yeah.
If you had a time machine to give your younger self any advice, what age and would you go to, and what would you say? That's a cool question. Thanks, Jonah.
One of the life lessons I think I've learned is just because you can doesn't mean you should. Sometimes self-editing, sometimes doing something only because I used to have the philosophy, I can, so I will.
Yeah.
And I would just do crazy things, projects, whatnot. And I think sometimes self-editing and sometimes the logic of less is more, not just in design, but sometimes in projects, life, expansion, things like that.
Less, so I agree. That's a good one.
Because you can doesn't mean you should, you know.
All right. Sparkys France says, say bonjour from France.
Oh, bonjour, motherfuckers.
Bonjour. Max Vu, shout out to Max Vu. He says, will we be seeing UGP again? And we covered that. We will not.
I wish.
We got
him and his dad constantly get some old UGP archives that are so cool.
That's sick. Yeah. They're doing it. What's the shop called that they have? Epic. Dope. Yeah.
Epic. And they're in
I like them.
I believe, you know, they're awesome. Foo's awesome. Foo's crazy. I love it.
That's the dad's name is Foo?
Yeah, he's awesome.
Foo.
Yeah.
And Max is coming into his own, like that video that just came out, like
so good.
Killing it. Watching him grow up and, you know, change from just being on a little kid's bike to where he's at now is pretty sick. And he's so well rounded. The youth is the future, man. All right, big boy Dustin Arp. You know him from Denver. How often do people think your last name is Bonner?
You know what's so funny, man? When I was in high school, the class actually started UGP, and the teacher said my name like that, and I looked at him, and he was cross-eyed, and I go, that's not as funny as your face. And I had to stay in the front office for like 2 weeks.
Ron Bonner.
I'll take it, whatever.
It's got to come with the last name. That's funny, man. All right, so Ditch Frank. Any plans for trips? We kind of talked about you figuring that out right now.
I want to come out and see those motherfuckers, man. I love that crew.
He says video plans, and any new riders on the horizon.
Yes to all above.
Yes to all the above. Yes. Anything you can say about new riders coming along?
No, I think we'll see. Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep it low key.
Yeah. Yep.
Dope. Let's see. How the interlock came to be.
That was Byron Anderson's concept, man. Byron's phenomenal. He is so fucking smart, and he's designed all of our products. We all collectively work together. You know, like GL and I worked a lot with the factories, making it happen, stuff like that. But Byron had that idea, man, and it was a good one, man.
It's a damn good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it $1 million idea yet? It's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah, you know, but it's interesting because when you look at it, you're like, I think the best ideas created are the ones that you go, that's obvious, or it's so obvious, but if it was, someone else would have done it. And I think that's usually when the best things in a market is they look obvious.
Agreed. Yeah. And that one comes from Anaximander Hanan. Hell of a name. All right.
Yeah.
This one I think I can answer for you. Daniel X. Paul says, would you ever consider doing another Roots Jam? No. We ended on a high note. You know, let somebody else carry the torch.
I would absolutely do Roots Jam if someone would just put up the funding, because I think it'd be really needed right now in 2023, 2024 for BMX.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, BMX could not it couldn't fund it. It would have to be funded, you know.
With some
So
sugar
tell
water.
him to find us that sugar water money and we'll do it.
Yes. I love it. All right, let's see. Moto B says what happened to UGP. We covered that. Don't worry about that. See, somebody else. Brad Josar says, will you bring back UGP? Everybody loves UGP.
Brad.
All right, let's see. Francis Castro, when did you decide to be the nicest dude in the world?
As soon as I met him. Francis is awesome, man.
He's
a good dude. He just moved to Longwood.
Yeah, no shit. Sick. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Jerry says, what's up? What do you know? We were just talking about you, Joko. All right. Robin Sloot says, what are the top 3 most important aspects to longevity in the BMX industry?
Top 3. Probably touched on a lot of the points through this. And I mean, obviously don't do anything for money, only money, because if you only do for money, it will end fast.
Yeah.
You know, be conservative always with views and finances, and take risk, man, because if you don't put your ass on the line, you know, one thing I talk about time is being a pro rider is exactly the same as being a business owner. And with a pro rider, you know, you have to take risks, you have to put yourself out there, you have to promote yourself, you have to do all these things. And in business, you're doing the same thing. You're always putting yourself out there, you're always taking major risks. You're gonna fail sometimes. You might try something and fail 5 times before it actually works. And I always talk to the riders that, like, look, when you think about being a pro, think about it not as a business, but it's the same property, same elements, you know, of it. You know,
and if you stop getting better, you stop to be good. He who stops getting better ceases to be good is something that my dad used to say, and I think that applies to both business and riding.
I think so.
And if you're not learning new tricks, at least you're like applying so like Simone, for example, I think he's still learning new tricks, but he can do anything, but now he's at the point where he chooses what to do on certain spots, and I love that.
That's a good thing. Trey and Simone both can backflip. They both can ride all kinds of stuff.
But that's what they choose to do.
Choose to not do it. And I've always at first that's crazy. And I was like, that's cool, man.
It is
you
cool.
can have all these things. I'm not doing that.
Exactly.
You know? And the same thing in business too, because I can go and people are always like, you should make this, you should do this. I'm like, it doesn't fit the objective. So why would I want to do that? I'm not going to do that, you know.
You become an artist at a certain level. All right, Chandler Golden, local homie who just dropped a video on Dig. He's really good.
He's really good. That dude's awesome.
What is one of the most impactful things in BMX from your day that still stands out right now?
Most impactful thing from BMX from my day.
Back in my day.
Riders taking control.
Sick. That's facts. I love that.
Definitely, yeah.
That's perfect. I love it. Well put. All right, Tyler crying. Why is Ryan Scher the best?
Dude, Ryan Scher is so much fun to hang out with. He's actually texting me right now, but it's like, Ryan is my little brother.
Hell yeah.
And I love. It's crazy to think Ryan Scher, between getting on Shadow and now working with Sparkys and Subrosa and all that, it's been 20 years.
That's awesome. That's crazy.
Cool. Yeah,
and you said this is the 20th year of Subrosa or Shadow? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, Subrosa started 2006, so it's getting close.
Yeah, I remember being there for the 10 years of Subrosa. Let's see, but yeah, that's dope. I'm sure you have cool plans for the 20th anniversary of Shadow, but it'll be a secret conspiracy until
honestly, this information project that we did with the Hawaiian crew, that was the beginning. It's their 20 and now it's our 20th, so we started it off in December as like one of our first little projects.
All right, and I think that's a wrap from our questions on the. There's other ones, but we ain't got to worry about them. Well, damn, dude, it's been nearly 3 hours.
We still can keep talking.
Yeah, for real. I appreciate you coming on.
So it's easy, you know. So I was excited when you brought it up.
Yeah, it brings back memories.
It's funny because I haven't really been in the mindset to want to talk in this way, and I was stoked that it was you because I was like, man, this is fun. I've always enjoyed everything you've always done for us and me, and I've always appreciated it. And
Yeah.
I like talking with you, man. So hopefully this doesn't sound too insane all over the board when people listen to it.
I think I always feel like the podcast is absolute batshit, but then you get some feedback and it's like, wow, it was so cohesive and easy to listen to, and I'm like, really? Yeah. All right, fucking A, cool. First of all, I'm like, thank you for listening. So thanks,
amen,
thanps
right?
everybody for listening.
I mean, I hope through these different podcasts, I hope people can always take a little something and make it their own, and hopefully help. I always want to inspire the next group of dudes that are going to take BMX to the next level.
For real.
And hopefully that happens. Hopefully, it's like,
I'd say I want all the people who have any interest in starting a podcast to start a podcast, there's plenty to go around for everybody. I don't know. And it's just it's just that. It's the rider taking control. Like you can do whatever you want. You can throw jams, you can create your own YouTube channel if you're into that, or go hard on Instagram like Brad Sims did, and just ride your bike and share the journey. It's like
hide in the woods and don't talk to no one and enjoy your peace,
and enjoy like, dirt jumping. That seems like the dirt jumper's MO is hide in the woods. And
I don't blame them, man. Though, like, fuck everyone.
There's something magical about that. What is where do you see yourself in like 10 years, or whenever you retire from working? Where do you want to be, and what's your what's your dream?
When I step down from like AMI Sparkys, it'll be, I just want to do my property companies, commercial property, and Rocksteady.
Sick.
One of the things I love about doing Rocksteady is that all of our customers, I know manufacture, I know graphic design, I know how to make anything. So when I'm speaking to different people, I can actually help them develop their products in a way that I can help them understand.
That's huge.
In a language that they understand. You know what I mean? So it's one of the things I really love to do. So in the future, I'd love to do more of that,
That's great.
And stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, I hope in one facet I'll always have some kind of finger or toe in BMX, but at some point it'll be, time to move on to another aspect. You know what I mean? But I hope I never, ever too far from it. I mean, it's been too, to think about it, I've been riding a BMX bike and been in business now longer than I wasn't.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
So that's wild when you think about that shit. You're like, holy shit, man. It's like this bit longer than not, That's
wild. I can't imagine what the BMX industry would look like without Ron Bonner, Like you've had a tremendous impact and given a lot. So it's cool.
I mean, and I appreciate you saying that, but it's not just me, right? There's
right, of course.
A very good collective of, people that have been going for this past 20-something years, actually 30 years, that everyone's really been just so passionate about BMX, and it's, which is really cool,
But every team needs a captain to steer the ship. So that's what I'm saying.
It's funny you say that. I always say, hey, let's be a speedboat, not a barge.
Yes.
I mean, let's pivot when we can, but conserve fuel.
No.
Chaos. But yeah, no, awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you, dude. Thanks for having me on, man. I can't wait to see what crazy photos you clip up, and
we'll see what the Instagram clips look like. That's my favorite part.
Well, awesome, man. Well, I hope you have an awesome Sunday. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Or?
The last thing, I always ask your Mount Rushmore of all-time riders. That's one. We got a couple of questions that we'll go through. So Mount Rushmore, real quick. No thinking about it. Four riders.
4?
Yeah.
God, Simone, Taj. God, that's hard.
It is hard. You got 2.
I got Taj, Simone. I'm trying to think way back. I mean, Dave Clymer, because he was one of the first guys that brought punk rock into racing, and he's punk rock. He'd pedal so fast, a little sketchy, and he was one of the first dirt jumper dudes too. So Dave Clymer for sure. And Matt Hoffman.
Hell yeah, solid.
Have without Matt,
Yeah, for real. That's a really good Mount Rushmore, and I've never heard of the third one, Dave Clymer. I'll have to look into him.
Dude, look him up. From Pennsylvania. He was the first rider pro guy that I sponsored outside of Florida.
All right.
And I was
Cool.
Dave Clymer, you know. So I was like, man, and
Dave Clymer.
dude, look him up. He was S&M writer. He was on Jason Lonergan and Dave were all on like, was it Pedal Power, or they had purple, white, and black uniforms. They were so cool looking,
Sick.
and he was just so punk rock that he was one of the original POWs, Pros of Westminster. He lived in like when I went out to California on I sold my car, moved out there for the whole summer in 1989, and he had a brown Astro van, and I got to ride every iconic spot that I'd ever seen.
Dope.
And if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't have been in that.
That's great.
You know.
I love that.
But look him up if you can find anything about him. It'd be like, oh, dude,
I will.
He's a badass.
Second question: young riders that you are looking at right now that I should know about that I don't know about.
Man, Jake R, Kevin,
Jake R.
Yeah, Jake. I always pronounce Jake's last name totally. It's Jake and Jay. Jay's his dad's name, and Jake. I want to start this over so I can. But Jake is phenomenal. He rides trails, park. He skates. He races. He does everything, and he's so good. Or even K Rob right now. Looking at K Rob, you know, Kevin Robinson's son.
Robinson. Okay.
Yeah, Kevin's so good, man. Or even Beast Margera, like Beast.
Yeah, Beast Marotta, right?
Nate Marotta.
Yeah.
I'm the worst at pronouncing people's last names.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely failed that class in school, but it was like, but that's a cool thing is watching all these dudes and watching them all going from like being, you know, 8, 9, 10, and now they're kind of getting up into 11, 12. Like I think Kevin might be just turned 16.
Yeah.
You know, now, but it's like they're watching all these guys, you know, like grow.
And that's the age where they're learning tricks like nobody's business and progressing, and it is nuts. It's crazy how like when your brain is young, you can just learn tricks and it sticks. You know? It's
so crazy. Let me like before I forget, because I might be able to say it like maybe we can
yeah, what's Jake R's Instagram maybe?
I'm the worst at it's RUTKOWITZ. JAKE.
Rutkows. Jake Rutke is Jake.
I feel bad.
Rutkowitz. However,
his dad Jay is an old rider too from Pennsylvania.
Okay, dope. And he's 13 years old. Dude, and he's on shadow riding gear in Subrosa or getting flowed.
Yeah, yep.
Sick.
He's him, Kevin, Beast. They're all from the Northeast, and there's many other riders like this. You know, like even looking at Trey Jones, like he was 9 when he really started kind of popping, and like Max Wu was like, you know, probably in that same, maybe a little younger, you know. And now look at all these guys, you know.
Dude, besides Beast, I hadn't heard of these two, so this is a good one. Usually people don't stump me. I'm already following, so that's good.
Well, I wish I could have done more justice for pronouncing their last name correctly.
And it's the thought that counts.
But if you're looking for some young dudes right now that are fun to watch, that actually embody what I personally love about BMX is just riding everything. That's what these dudes do. You know?
Beautiful.
I love watching it, you know, and they're just so fucking good. It's insane.
For real. And then, okay, third and the last question. What are you most proud of accomplishment wise in your career? Whether it's a riding thing or a business thing. What do you look back the most fondly on? You've done a bunch of great shit, but pick one.
Cheesy as it may sound, it's just the memories and friendships, honestly. You know what I mean? Like it sounds cheesy, goofy, whatever. Because it needs to be like this product or this or that or this journey, that road trip. But honestly, all of it really, we strip it all the way down. It's about that. And that's honestly,
that's beautiful.
You know, like, I mean, even like I said, when I was in Germany a couple weeks ago, I've known all these people for ever I was going. I've known everyone for 20, 30 years.
That's pretty rad.
This is
cool,
you know? And we joke a little bit because I swear it's not truth, but I swear like in the 90s, it felt like you knew everyone in the world who rode a BMX bike.
Yeah, I think it still feels like that, man. We have a BMX family worldwide.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it's not as pure as this, but it used to be, and it still is some sense. If you saw on a bike, next thing you know, you're staying at their house.
Yeah,
that's the way
exactly.
It was.
Yeah,
it's not as much like that now. Everyone's just like too busy going, you know, like, you know. But it is memories and friendships, man. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the only thing you can die with. You know what I mean? Is that.
Memories.
So,
all right,
but yeah, I would
that
say
leads
for
me to
sure.
the last question. Just
Uh-oh.
quick advice for young, hungry kids. And we kind of covered it already, but you hit me with the last words for the children.
Advice for what?
For a young, hungry kid, I don't know. A general advice like, don't try and get sponsored. Don't do it for money. Take control. Do shit on your own. That's kind of what we talked about already. But anything else?
It's a good one, man. I always try to think. It's like it's if you want something to happen, put yourself in the path of the momentum. If you want, I believe that you can will anything into place, but that doesn't mean it just happens. You literally have to. Before the internet, I would find artists or whatnot that I was really stoked on, and I would go to the place to make sure that I could meet that person, and I'd meet them and then become friends with them. Or if I saw a ride or a spot, BMX action back in the day, I was so delusional. I just went there. Just went in, and I was like, "Hey,
I'm Ronnie Bonner. What's up?"
I probably didn't say much. I was
That's
pretty
badass.
nervous,
Yeah.
but I do believe in kids right now. You got to believe that you gotta go the organic path versus the pushy path.
Right.
Do first, and then see what comes of it, and then it'll be a lot more fun in the journey too. Everyone right now is so concerned with being sponsored, but if you really break it down, the one thing we all want in life is to be a part of something, not necessarily sponsored.
Yes.
Or you want to be sponsored, not necessarily pro, because if you're trying to shoot for pro, I'll use this as an example. A couple of years ago, I had an intern in, and I was like, "Hey, man, what do you want to do in life? Like, what's your goal?" Because I want to be a CFO. I'm like, wait, you're not getting. You don't just become a CFO. To become a CFO, it's about the journeys and trials, tribulations, and everything you do to learn to make the decisions of a CFO. So, as a writer, to say I want to be pro for something kind of misses the whole point. It's like, you should be like, I want to get in a van. I want to go hang out. I want to do these things. I'm going to take my money, instead of buying weed and beer, I'm going to buy a plane ticket, and I'm going to go out someplace and just see what the fuck happens, and next thing you know, organically things will happen.
That is true.
And I do believe if you want and you want to will it in place, you can't just sit at home. People think organic means it just happened. Organic means that you're not forcing. You still have to push yourself in front of the momentum in order for it actually to turn into something for you, and I still do that.
Yeah, hell yeah. It never ends. It's a never ending journey.
When I was in high school, I remember I'd have a semester and I literally did not talk to a single person in school. Wouldn't talk. Even though I was friends with everyone, but I learned through UGP that if I wanted things to happen, I had to put myself out there. So I'm a very shy person by nature, but I realized that if you don't put yourself in front of the momentum, you don't do these things, and make yourself wickedly uncomfortable, you're never going to find out what it could be on the other side of the fence.
You're hitting on that. I don't know if it's cliche, but growth comes from outside of your comfort zone. So put yourself outside of your comfort zone. That's good advice, man.
And again, that's being a writer.
Yeah.
To do your first rail is scary as hell, right? You're like, oh my God, our first set of doubles, whatever. Until you do that, that's an uncomfortable spot, and now you have the next uncomfortable spot to go conquer.
Yes.
And I think it's an important thing, man. Stay positive and will things into place, man. Like, don't sit back and hope they're gonna happen. Make it happen, man. And don't
grab the reins.
Motherfuckers, get it. Enjoy the journey, man, because they're pretty good. When you sit back and look back on it, you're gonna be like, fuck yeah, that was cool as hell.
It goes by fast too, I'm sure.
Yeah, it does, which is crazy.
Dude, this has been so good, Ron. Thank you.
I appreciate you, dude. Thank you for doing this. This is fun. This actually helped me get out of my COVID mind, which was nice.
Hell yeah. Welcome back. Get out of your COVID mind. You're in Florida anyway. Nobody gives a shit about COVID in Florida.
It's so funny with the Florida shit. I'm almost mad that because during COVID, everyone's moving here.
Yeah.
joke. I'm like, hey, Florida marketing team, we need more alligators eating kids. We need
Yeah,
more
for
like
real.
Florida man.
Yeah.
Let's keep it cheap here. Everyone keeps moving here. Now it's getting expensive. I'm like, no. This is our redneck Riviera, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's weird as hell. Not everyone likes it, which is the good thing.
Yep.
Don't make it expensive, you know.
Yeah. Shit. All right, Ronnie.
Awesome, my man. Well, I appreciate you, dude. It was awesome.
I appreciate
catching
you
up. I
more.
hope we
Yeah.
get to
Let's
hang out
cross
here
paths
soon.
this year. We'll
I'll
see.
be seeing you for sure. I'm absolutely coming out there. I'm gonna come out and see the whole crew out there and stuff.
Fuck yeah,
so,
do it. And if I come to Florida for work this year, I'm hitting you up.
Well, please do if you need. I got
Especially because you're in commercial real estate, and my job is real estate stuff. So we
I'd love to.
we can do some talking.
Yeah,
You know?
I love to shit. Hey, I got spare room, man. If you ever need something or whatever, if you're ever here, just
Hell
holler
yeah.
at me, man.
I love it. All right.
Well, awesome,
Thank you,
man.
Ron
Well,
Bonner.
I'm actually gonna go hang out with Ryan and Jamie Sayers here and Gage Sharps here. So we're actually gonna go
Cool.
have some beers and go hang out with those dudes right now. So
All right. Enjoy
awesome,
your
man.
Sunday, and I'm gonna end the recording later, guys.
I appreciate it, dude. Have a great one.
Hello, you've reached the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment below if you have anybody that you'd like me to reach out to and interview. And other than that, just thanks for watching. Thanks for the encouragement, and thanks for liking and subscribing and helping the show grow. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next week.